Pretty easy to do and pretty fun little observation. You can do it with your cell phone.
Yo. What's up, guys? Yo, I have a question. Arwijn, you were in here like a week ago and we were talking. Are you a geocentrist or a heliocentrist? Or are you a glober or a flat earther?
What?
I'm asking you what you are. Like your viewpoint.
My viewpoint is that the Earth is a realm, and I think that realm is a giant cube or a rectangle. I think it has looping aspects to it. At least east to west, might be north to south too. Has a flat top, and I think that the celestial
What
light
happened?
are holograms. That's my
Piezo, you there?
Yeah, I'm listening to Arwijn. So,
oh, my bad. I couldn't hear. Go ahead.
So you believe in a Pac-Man east to west rectangle?
Yeah.
Why do you say it like that? Like, yeah, like as if it's like
Because I hate
painful.
freaking Pac-Man. It's stupid. It's a stupid thing to call it.
That
Well,
is painful, dude.
I mean,
because it's stupid.
you believe it, right?
Pac-Man is the worst comparison.
Well, I mean, you believe that there's like a teleportation of space.
No, exactly. Here we go. See, every time some idiot, sorry, I'm going to call you an idiot here for that, says Pac-Man, you have to get out of the way all these stupid fucking assumptions about it. Every goddamn time. I'm
Dude,
sick of
can
hearing
you separate
about
your emotions and just talk with logic?
I'm sick of hearing about portals, corners of the screen, and barriers.
How do you get from one side back to the other instantly?
You don't. There is no other side to get to instantly. It's a looping continuum. Like a wormhole tunnel looping.
A wormhole. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I'm asking what the physical mechanism by which. Okay. So wouldn't it just be easier to say it's a circle?
No, because it isn't. A circle is an actual shape.
So how do you know it's a rectangle?
Because that seems to be the layout.
Based on what?
Based on the
layout.
On
based
the
on what?
equator line being a straight line. On the southern barrier, there might be more land there. There might be more land to the north.
How do you know that the equator is a straight line?
Polaris is an actual point above Euclidean space. Yeah, getting away from that point, it really opens up things, starts to explain things.
But you can't triangulate your position on a Mercator projection.
Yeah, you can. You absolutely can.
Let's talk about the equator, all right? How do you know it's a straight line?
Dude, why are you suddenly... He's asking questions.
I know, but
that was going to be one of my questions, actually.
I heard him say something about the equator, and I don't want to just skip right over it. Like,
yeah,
said,
why
how do you know
it's a
straight line? That's a good question.
How do I know it's a straight line? Oh. I've not seen any satisfactory evidence that it isn't a straight line. In fact, nobody's really measured it.
Hold on. How do you know Santa Claus is real? I haven't seen any satisfactory evidence that he's not real. Right? Like, that's not an argument.
Well, I've never been to the equator. Look,
I've never been to the North Pole.
Yeah,
I've never been to the equator.
I'm not arguing of the existence of something, whether based on that it's not proven to be existed. I mean, the equator exists. It's just, we're just assuming what the equator is, and nobody's really tangibly measured it, like actually measured it.
So how do you know it's a straight line?
It's a derived concept. Nobody's actually set out to really officially measure it, which is highly suspect to me.
Why do you think it's a straight line?
If this doesn't go sideways, I want to talk to you about some things, this and another thing. So, like, try not to let this get too. Just try not to let this get too crazy. I don't want you to.
Just ask me now. What is it, Jeremy?
I mean, I'm actually.
Hello?
Yeah, you're hot micing. Matthias is hot micing. Or
Jeremy?
I was getting ready to say that. Oh, Jeremy's.
I don't
kinda
know.
wanna hear
Like maybe
Piezo
I'll
and
do it.
Arwijn.
Maybe we'll do
Jeremy's
it in another
mic is
room.
lit up, but I can't
We'll do
hear
it
him
in
talking.
another. You can't hear me?
Oh, now I can. Yeah.
Well, other people are talking. We're just waiting for them to stop talking. Maybe we'll just do it in another room or something sometime. Because
Well,
I
what
don't.
is
I
it?
don't know.
Is it like you can't talk about it? You don't want to talk about it in here?
It's just a lot of like distractions and shit. Somebody's gonna. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we can, but I'll try.
Well,
I'll try.
Why are you trying to
On the
hijack
equator.
Arwin's Pac-Man conversation with Piezo? What the hell, man?
I know. If you want to finish it, go ahead. You want to finish this with
Well,
Arwin?
How am I
I mean,
supposed
I
to
know
do that?
I don't really. I'm not really that interested in Pac-Man. I just thought he might have an answer, and he said he
Okay.
doesn't. He doesn't
Yeah, I do.
has any reason it's not true. So
Yeah, I do. There's no measured evidence of what the equator actually is. The Globers assume that it is a straight line that's
so by not knowing what it is, that means you know what it is.
Finish that I'm doing that.
Why are you interrupting him?
Yeah.
I mean,
so the Globers claim it's a straight line over a presupposed curve. They might be right, except for the presupposed curve part. I think they actually are right. I think that there is an indicator that's a straight line. Flat Earthers claimed it was a circle based on what? Not a measurement, based on the presupposition that it's a disk and flight paths that, when you lay it down on the disk model, seem to be going at very efficient straight lines, but without real evidence other than, hey, it's warped. There's something warped. Yeah, that's all the evidence that was ever presented about it. Like, there's no other evidence available at all. I'm going to go with the straight line. It would make the most sense. You would lay out the longitude, latitude in an actual square grid system, which is going to be the best orientation to measure the land in anyway, right? And now we just have to actually figure it out. There has to be actual measurements, which is going to take a lot of effort. And
Okay, Armin. So here's the issue I have with that, right? Let's say that you're a person who doesn't have modern day GPS systems to navigate, like every other human for the entirety of history, right? How do you navigate? You navigate with the stars. So let's say that you're at the equator, right? And you want to go west, okay? Now, the way that you reckon yourself, right, is you look due north, you see Polaris, you cut a 90-degree angle to the left, now you're pointing west, and you just dead reckon, and you go in a straight line. As you travel over a decently long distance, one of two things is going to happen. Either one, you're going to look directly to your right, and Polaris is going to maintain its same orientation centered to you when you turn 90 degrees to the right. Or two, you're going to turn 90 degrees to the right, and Polaris is going to be like shifted over behind where it was before. Now, in these two events, in these two cases, right, these result in two different types of navigation. Because in the first case, where Polaris maintains its orientation, if you were living on a flat plane and it was in the center, right, of like an AE projection, that would mean that you're doing a circle around it. In the second case, if it was an AE projection and you did that, and when you looked 90 degrees to the right, it was kind of behind where it was before, that would mean that you've maintained your absolute orientation, but you're drifting off of that circle. And so you can't just in order to use either one of these, you have to make a presumption about what shape the Earth is in order to pick which one you're going to use to navigate. Everyone picks the first one to navigate. They pick the first one because they say the way that we reckon east and west is by a relative 90-degree rotation relative to what is a fixed north. And so that presumes the celestial sphere model, which is, punched into the graticule on the ground. If you don't make that presumption, you could equally validly use either one of these, right? But the difference is it's going to change the topology of what's under your feet. So you have to make a presumption to even use one of these methods to reckon your orientation around the equator. Now, if that equator is only followed, if that equator is only followed in the first case, like if you can only use the first case in order to navigate and stay on the equator, what it would indicate is that the equator is a circle. It's a circle in both the globe and it's a circle in the AE map.
I get it now. Thanks. We know all the disk model presumptions that are not proven. Yeah, because
why are you so emotional?
You don't go around.
Hey, Arwijn, just chill out, man. You can express yourself without getting excited, right? It's early in the morning here where I'm at, so just have a coffee and a cake and just chill out, bro.
So basically, what all the flat Earth thing?
I'm sick of it.
Yeah, just a minute.
It doesn't happen. Polaris, the north, celestial north, are cardinal directions. You don't go physically around it, around its GP.
It's a matter of definition. How do you test your claim you just made?
There is a magnetic pole that changes direction, while the celestial north pole does not change direction. It's cardinal north. You're going to be going in a straight line, and that cardinal north celestial Polaris is going to be 90 degrees.
So Earth's magnetic field's like a disk magnet, right?
No.
Why are you skipping past the point about the cardinal directions? You realize that cardinal directions. Now, you realize that the cardinal directions, north to east is a 90 degree. East to south is a 90 degree. South to west is a 90 degree. West to north is another 90 degree. So are you now claiming that the cardinal directions are fraudulent?
Yeah, Now, there is no claim of cardinal directions on the disk Earth map. He's not brought it up. We bring it up because it's an integral part of the rectangular looping
Hold on,
system.
are you like speaking for me right now? Like, who is that question to?
Well, if you deny that the equator is a straight line, then you are denying the cardinal directions by definition.
No, I'm not. So let me explain.
You are. Okay. So now you're saying straight lines are viable on a curved surface.
So am I able to talk in this server when someone makes a railing accusation?
Yo.
Answer my
When
question.
you're incorrect with your answer, no.
Answer my question.
I haven't even began to give an answer. So until you close your mouth, I can't do that.
You did give an answer, and you were immediately by your
Oh my gosh! Like, how did
you guys let him respond?
That claim and then say but I do believe cardinal. You can't believe in cardinal direction and believe as
all right.
Polaris
So
at
do
the
you
center of
want to hear
disk
the
at
explanation, or do you just want to hear yourself talk? Which one is it?
I just want to point you out. This is a yes or
You want to
no
hear yourself talk?
situation, and you
I'd like to hear his response, Arwijn.
Non-contradiction. You already
I
violated.
like hearing Arwijn talk.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's your answer. Your orientation with respect to compass directions is always determined at a point. Wherever you are is that point. Now, if the axis of symmetry of that magnetic field that you are aligning yourself to, which is magnetic north, if that axis of symmetry is fixed in space, then as you move around it, it will always be north. Therefore, the cardinal directions in terms of their orientation with respect to absolute space will shift because their definition is defined with respect to north.
You misconstrued magnetic north with celestial north.
No.
Yes, you did. You talked about a freaking compass, which points magnetic north. Yes, you did. Yes, that is a fixed point.
If you assume the axis
celestial
of symmetry
north is not a fixed point in
Are you a
Euclidean
psychopath,
space.
bro? Where are your meds? You
One
need to
mic.
chill.
One mic, please. One mic, you guys. Just give one mic at a time.
Yeah, let one mic talk.
So if you want to reckon by stars, it is the same thing. If you assume Polaris is the North Pole point, that's fine. That will be your axis of symmetry. But you navigate with Polaris or you navigate with the compass, the effect is the same. It's with respect to the north point that you're making your definitions for east and west. Now, there is a difference between the absolute direction you're pointing and the relative direction you're pointing. Your cardinal directions are relative directions. They're relative to north.
Question.
They're not cardinal directions. You fail to understand the meaning of the word cardinal. Just wrong.
Question for Jesus Christ is Lord. Is east and west a straight line? Yes or no?
Is east and west a straight line? No.
So the cardinal directions are fraudulent then, correct?
No, they're a circle around the north.
Once again, the cardinal directions propose east and west as a straight line, dude.
No, they don't.
Look at the chat. Look at the live stream text chat. And now you're telling me that east and west is not a straight line.
Dude, that is defined at a point. At the point that you are at. You can't keep that same. Okay, here's what you guys are doing. You don't even understand why you're wrong or how wrong you are. You just want to just belligerently talk over other people.
Now you're just
it's my turn to talk. Here's what. Dude, you just are an echo chamber. Here's why you're wrong.
No, we're not an echo chamber. We're pointing out how you're wrong. You're continually misconstruing magnetic north with celestial north. You keep doing it.
Guys,
you traced a curve over a compass. So that curve over that compass that you just drew is a collection of many points. Based on the definition of a point cannot be a line or a curve. So when you drew a curve over the compass, the whole point went over your head, literally. At any point, you can use that compass to orient yourself west or east with a relative 90-degree angle to north. But as you trace a curve across it, no, it doesn't maintain its orientation because that compass, as it moves around the center, will also move. That compass does not remain fixed rigid in space. It moves itself. It's a relative orientation, not an absolute one. That's what those words mean.
That's right. It has nothing to do with celestial north where Polaris is.
So in other words,
we were literally just talking about magnetic and you said I was wrong and you pointed to celestial. Now I talked about celestial, now you're saying back to magnetic.
Yeah, because you keep misconstruing it.
Yeah, thank you for interrupting me. What? Yeah, once again, wow, thank you. Once again, the visual aid that I provided in the live stream text chat proposes that east and west is a straight line. And so now what you're trying to tell us all is because you adhere to an AE map or Gleason map or whatever, where the North Pole is the center of your map, that the east and west lines, which are straight according to the cardinal directions, are now viable on a curved surface.
Okay, show me a map. I want you to, right now, here's my challenge to you. Show me a map in which you can show where north is a fixed point, and when you go around north, east and west is a straight line. If you use a globe and you're looking down the North Pole, it's a circle around the equator. If you use an AE map, you look down the North Pole, it's a circle around the equator. What projection are you using in which east and west is a straight line, and can we test it?
If you paid attention to any of what I've said within the last year or two, or looked at any, especially my last video that I made, you'll realize.
I don't know who you are.
Thank you for interrupting me again. Appreciate it. I'm sure that's what Jesus Christ told you to do, of course. But yeah, if you would have.
That's a weird response.
Okay, once again, interruption. Thank you. Appreciate it. Where's the mod when you need them?
Dude, you've been doing it too. Don't be a hypocrite.
That's just a weird response. He asked you a question.
Until I get done. Just pop yourself on mute till I get done. That way,
go ahead.
Words don't trigger you. No, I don't see the mute on your little icon yet. Go ahead and pop yourself on mute, or not. Okay, well, I'll wait for another interruption right in the middle of the point. Yeah, if you paid attention to any of my arguments within the last 2 years, or even looked at my last video that I made, you'll see that I don't adhere to any maps. Because once again, if you do a quick Google search or any kind of search engine and type in the world's most accurate map, you're gonna get tons of different results, concluding that there is no world's most accurate map. Hence why I don't adhere or agree to any map. Thank you.
How convenient. Even if you don't agree 100%
to your question.
It wasn't an answer. And even if you don't agree 100% to any particular map, you still need to make a claim to the general geometry of the shape of the ground you're standing on. That's what I'm asking for. I don't need the map to be 100% accurate. I just need a general topological profile, the geometric shape of the ground.
Once again, it's like what Arwijn said a while ago. A grid system involves squares, not squares that are not squares. I got a question for every flat earther in this VC right now. Have you verified any of these maps that you claim to be true, like such as the AE map or the Gleason map? Have you actually, traveled the world in the 7 seas, as the arithmetics would put it, and actually verified these maps for yourself to make sure that that map isn't, bullshitting you? Yes or no?
So before we go down the little rabbit hole you tried to dig in the middle of the question, we asked you the shape of the map that not the map, but the ground that you're standing on. Are you saying it's a rectangle like Arwijn did, like a Mercator projection general profile?
Once again, I have no idea. Like I said about a minute ago, a grid system is based on squares. Not squares that are at the top of the square is less distance than the bottom of the square. So,
can I ask a clarifying question, Matthias? Do you adhere to the AE map projection? Because that's all it is. It's just a projection.
Wow. Once again, pay attention to what I just said a minute and a half ago.
He doesn't have a position, please. He wants to tell you you're wrong, but he doesn't have a position.
Let me answer a question. I'll say it again, hopefully without interruption this time. I know it triggers you all. Repeat after me. I, Matthias, do not adhere to any world map. Now repeat it. That way I know everybody's on board with my stance. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't care about maps. What shape is the Earth?
I have no idea.
So then how can you tell us we're wrong?
Once again, I'm going to show some humility and be humble and say,
can I ask you,
Matthias, real quick? Thank you for the interruption. Wow. Where's the mod when you need them? Ask me a question and I can't even
finish. This guy's like unstable, bro. You need
once
to chill.
Again, an interruption. Where's the mod at?
You guys
are crazy. Man, do your job, buddy.
This is too much, guys. Come on, man.
Yeah,
everybody relax.
Like,
is the only one that's acting rationally.
Once again, this is being biased.
That's not necessary.
Yeah. You're interrupting me, telling me to chill out.
You're you don't hostile. You're the only one I hear that's like fired up and hostile and shit.
Because they keep interrupting me because the mod won't do their job to the interrupters.
I'm monitoring Matthias. Go ahead, everyone. Let him speak. Why are you guys being so crazy?
You just came in here, QOP. You have no idea what's going on, dude. You don't.
Matthias is always level-headed.
Can we just all let Matthias continue his statement about his position after you inquired about it? Can we just let him finish?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do, is inquire about your actual position so I can figure out what's going on.
That's what we were trying to do. He doesn't have one. He said that. He wants to tell you that he knows that you're wrong, but he doesn't have a position himself. So
my position, and then ask you all flat earthers: have you traveled the world and the 7 seas to verify this AE map or Gleason map that you want to adhere to? And after I asked that question, I didn't get a simple yes or no answer from these.
I don't adhere to it.
Once again, interruption.
Dude, this is so lame. The server gets lamer when people like this are in here.
Nobody's forcing you to be here. So off you go. Good.
Oh my god, dude! That's why I wanted to get at him, because I had something, and
well, it
you
seems like
you guys need to chill out, dude. Like, it doesn't even sound fun talking to you.
Well, it seemed like my simple yes or no question.
I don't even want to hear it.
Well, it seemed like my simple yes or no question, Jeremy, made him leave, because we all know good and damn well, Jeremy, that nobody here has traveled the world in the 7 seas to verify any fucking map, Jeremy. But yet this person that calls himself Jesus Christ is Lord doesn't have the humility to say, no, Matthias, you are correct. I have not traveled the world in the 7 seas to verify this map. I'm relying on blind faith belief system.
The straw man of his position. He doesn't adhere to the AE map, neither do I.
What map do you adhere to?
Matthias, just so you know, you can actually verify the AE map as a sun calculator. In other words, each position, if you have the ruler that's in the center position of the AE map and stretch it out and move along latitude, longitude lines, you can check the time and date, and you'll match that actual time and date of where the landmass is and the time of the hour the sun of the solar position of the sun will be. So it's a sun calculator. So based on that information, it is accurate, just so you know.
Okay, well, just to destroy your argument, vertical refraction does exist, which concludes that if you're basing a map on and trying to verify the map on the position of the sun that's refracted, due to vertical refraction, then you're not really getting the exact pinpoint location of the turn now, are you, FED?
So again, if you just look at the map, and you look at the longitude, latitude, and you use the ruler, and you go look at modern sun calculation times, you'll find that it predicts the time perfectly fine.
Well, once again, you ignored my point about vertical refraction, which
So
concludes...
you just keep glazing over the fact that it's still viable when it predicts time. You're still glazing over the fact that it still predicts time. You're glazing over the fact that it still predicts time.
Come on, man, guys. We could have been having a cool convo with Piezo right now.
All right, cool.
All right.
So what was the exact subject matter that you were talking about here? Just ancient shit or what?
He was saying some dude debunked that these are precise symmetrical structures.
Well, I mean, the one that the guy was saying was he debunked. I don't know about. I'm not saying he debunked the thing you're about to bring. It could be very extremely precise.
I mean, we could look at that. I mean, it could be a fucking hit piece, you know, like fucking Jaren does a bad experiment to make us look stupid.
What's up? I don't know, bro. It was just the ancient aliens. This shit was. They're just all their claims are just fraudulent and not real.
I wouldn't say all of them are.
I mean, this guy did a 3-hour thing. I don't think he got it. I mean, what do you think? All right, what ancient aliens claim checks out? I mean, they probably do say some true shit in there. Yeah, I mean, I'd give you that.
I mean, these people just don't know the difference between old world stuff and the fake stuff that they made to push history they want to sell. So, I mean, we'd have to go through each one because I have a pretty good eye for that.
I mean, you guys, how many of you guys actually believe that there was aliens that came down from somewhere else that maybe built stuff on our Earth, you know, like ancient structure and stuff like that? Because I think that's the most ridiculous thing that you could possibly bring. There's always been people living here that could do fantastic, marvelous things, and I don't think that anybody had to come down from this fantasy world that lives above us somewhere to do anything.
I actually think there was aliens because of religions. I'm not saying they came from above us. They could have came from like outer ponders or something, or below, or a different time or dimension, whatever you want to put to it. I don't care. But religions, we've started religions from doing shit like that. We flew to islands and came out the sky and started fucking religions.
Yeah, it seems like there's
to Pacific Islands. We use them as way stations.
There's definitely humanoid there's definitely humanoid species that are above our species. We're not the top dog.
Well, I'd like to see evidence of that myself.
I mean, every culture has fucking, like, whatever you're claiming. Either it's like a more pure version of humans that's taller, smarter, or there's just a species that we're spliced from. Either way, like there's better humans than us. Like, that's just a fact. There was better. There is better.
There should be archaeological evidence then.
Humans.
There is, dude. They fucking proved, dude.
It might not have been aliens
well, where is
coming
it?
out the sky.
The Smithsonian
look at it.
You guys are
Look
gonna
at
just
it.
have a
Show it
whole
to me.
combo right through me.
Show me real archaeological evidence that supports that theory.
The Smithsonian threw out all the fucking giant bones. There's fucking hundreds of newspaper clippings.
Giants aren't from outer space.
No one said outer space.
Okay, well, they aren't alien either. They're from Earth.
Okay, no one said they were alien.
Okay, well, I thought that's what we were talking about. All of a sudden, we're switched up. Hello? Yeah, obviously, we're all switched up now.
Yo, Jeremy, can we make an event that says QOP shows melty rocks to Jeremy?
Hell yeah. Melted rocks. I've seen some of that stuff, but here we go. I don't like arguing.
I think it's definitely plausible that stuff came out of the sky, beings, for sure. Every single world religion talks about it. When they went to Australia and asked the Aboriginals where they came from, they pointed up. I don't know, it seems pretty...
And that's where the religion we started? Guess where they point when we say where they come from? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like religion is a huge piece of evidence that there was like something going on.
I mean,
if it was us. What if it was just us from another area? I don't know. Whatever it was, like people were coming out the sky, probably.
Yeah, but also like if you got a bunch of natives and you got some fucking advanced species that comes down on a craft, like we don't know how, we don't know if they're just flying at high altitudes, like from somewhere else in the plane, you know.
That's what I'm saying. No matter where they came from, even if they came under the water, they might still come from the sky. They might come from under the water up, and now they're in the sky. Boom, they come down and land somewhere, like, or they came from an outer ponder or wherever they came from. Like, you probably just, the air is just the easiest way to travel. You know what I'm saying? Hands down.
That's not like some glober crap right there. The water is underneath you, and so is the air. Could be the sky below you.
What's up?
Tell me there's sky below the water?
I didn't say that. Did I say that?
They could have came from the water, and they still would have thought they came from the sky.
Why?
I don't know. I thought that's what you said, bro.
No, I'm saying even if they came from underwater, they would like say there's a civilization they live underwater like Jar Jar Binks, and they wanted to come visit us. They would go up out the water, unless they just floated right to the coast and walked it or something. But the air is just the easiest way to travel. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're advanced, like the air is it, bro. We're trying to get. What are we trying to do? We're trying to get the flying cars right now.
We got them. They're called helicopters, bro.
I know. You know what I mean, though. Like I'll be doing it though. You want to take off from your driveway and be doing this. Nobody wants traffic.
Flying cars is going to be when we start sharing everything. You know what I mean? You don't have to
Yeah,
have one
so-
in your driveway. You just call it up, and it's like Uber, and it just comes to your house.
Yeah, it kind of sucks though. I don't think we'll go that route. No, nobody wants to do that, bro. When I want to leave, I want to leave.
You want to do some off-roading?
No, I'm saying I want my own flying car because when I want to leave, I want to leave. I'm not going to sit here and wait. I might want to jump in my car in a split second and be out. And that's mad people want to do that. What if I got to drive a kid to the hospital or something? I'm not sitting around waiting for nothing. An Uber, an ambulance, nothing. I'm out. I need to go. Sometimes the car ride will take me less time than it would take to wait. I mean, maybe if it's not a flying car, but dude, heads want their own shit, bro. I don't think that's like a pipe dream these guys got where you don't own anything. They are trying to do it though. I'll give you that. It's just not it's not really gonna work.
All right, so we all have one in our.
I think that they don't want us to own a lot of stuff. I think land is one of them, and housing. I think that there's a big push for that for the average person to really not have land. I mean, cars and items like that. They're disposable. Houses are too, but they're I don't know. It seems like they're pushing to.
Oh, they don't want you to own
property.
They don't even want you to own the car. That's why the leasing thing's happening, dude. A couple years ago, BMW made it so you didn't even own the heated seat function in your car. People were outraged; they had to remove it, but they were charging a subscription fee for the heated seats. Like they really don't want you to own none.
Oh, that's genius, bro.
Everything's going to be subscription based, and I saw a Black Mirror episode like this.
Oh man, with the brain injury, she needed to get brain
The chick
surgery.
with the
bro.
brain, she was playing ads. She was like teaching, and she gave an ad for like honeycomb cereal or.
Dude, sometimes I'm watching YouTube videos, like fishing videos. I think those people have that crap because they'll just be fishing, and then all of a sudden he's like, "I'm using a Daiwa 4500 on this. You can go down to your local bait shop." Bro, what's wrong with this guy?
Just giving ads. But no, they don't want you to own things, but I don't think it's going to fly because you can only take that so far. Like people are always going to want to. There's always going to be people like you get a lot of people with it, but there's going to be people that are like, "Yo, I'm going to own I'm not renting. I'm not leasing a car. Like I'll never lease a car. That's ridiculous."
It's that freedom of travel one. I think that's what you're not gonna be able to violate that with the non-ownership thing. You know what I mean? Like I gotta have a way to get around.
Honestly, if we were going to be as efficient as possible, that is the way to do it, dude. If you want to be as efficient as possible, that's exactly how you would do it. I have two 2-ton vehicles sitting in my driveway right now, and they mostly just sit there. Even when I drive to work, it sits in the parking lot almost the whole time. So you really I don't know. It's just not a good way to do it because that's got to be maintained the whole time. Like I don't know. The efficient way to do it would just be to have a smaller thing. Like these things seem very big for I don't know. Like I don't need a whole 2-ton car to drive to work. I need like a little enclosed capsule motorcycle style thingy. I need like a motorcycle with a roof.
A death trap.
Nah, it fills up with foam like Demolition Man. You'd be all right.
Okay.
They got airbags for motorcyclists now. Just a regular motorcycle. Like if they go flying off, like airbags deploy, like the old people shit. Like Steve, you can probably get one if you fall. You won't break a hip. Airbags. I think it sense you falling.
Gee, can you get me one? Would you buy me one, please?
If it'll sense you dropping, and airbags will just deploy all around you.
Why don't we just put you in a sphere of rubber that's see-through, and then that just drives around?
I got a feeling you motherfuckers want to put me in
I got
a feeling you guys want to put me in a fucking rest home. God damn, I'm leaving.
I mean, there's nowhere left to go.
Put you in a big clear silicone sphere that
that was the worst
drive
thing
from the inside, bro. You just drive around.
Or for the rubber thing, that was the worst thing we did to cars was get rid of that huge. There used to be like a 4-inch, maybe 6-inch rubber bumper in the front and the back of the car. Fucking genius, bro. You could tap so much shit and never even know. If you even tap something now, you're gonna have like $1,000 damage minimum.
You go to New York City, the people attach it to their bumpers, right? That piece of rubber.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's mad thin though. Those things are mad thin, bro. It used to be like this indestructible piece of rubber on the front of your shit, bro. You could literally tap anything, and no one like if everyone had that at the same height, there would be like way less fucking. You know, you just tap someone and be like, "Oh, my bad, you good?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm good." And you could just like wave to them.
Bumper car
Yeah,
city.
Yeah, now you get like you got a Kia and he like accidentally taps you in the back. You know, his whole frame is bent like at 5 mile an hour.
Bro, I tapped a guy once. I had a Saturn back in the 90s. I had a Saturn, and this guy had a friggin' just a car from like the 80s, bro. 70s or 80s, just giant shiny metal bumper. Bro, I tapped this guy head on doing like 5 miles an hour, bro. He didn't have a scratch on his shit. I had like $2,000 worth of damage. If I had those rubber bumpers and he had a rubber bump, well, he didn't need nothing. He was just good, but at least if I had the rubber bumpers, we would have been good because no one got hurt. His car didn't get a scratch. Probably would have had to buff his shit out if I had the rubber bumpers. That was it. Would have left a little rubber on his shit or something.
I still haven't made it up to the creek to get some sand out of the creek. I've been lazy.
What is that for planting like in your garden? Go get some of that river muck.
No, I was showing off my new gold pan the other day to a couple guys on here. It's called a bear claw. I told them I'd go up to one of these creeks up here on the mountain and get a 5-gallon bucket of dirt, or go take a shovel and try to find the bedrock in the river, dig a bunch of shit up, throw it in the bucket, bring it home, see if I can find any color. They was wondering how well that new gold pan would work. I don't know. I've never used one like it, but it's called a bear claw.
You pan for gold regularly, guy, right?
No, not regularly, but I've done it. I have done it several times. That's for sure.
Any good
It's not
luck?
something I regularly do, no, but I've played around with it. I think the most I've ever done was like bring down some 5-gallon buckets out of some mines up here on the mountain. There's mines all over the place up here. And then took a sledgehammer to it and crushed it into powder and then panned it and see what, I found some color in some of it. I don't know if they were, I think one of the mines was an old gold mine from the, oh, fuck. Someone's knocking on my door. Hang on.
That's the worst. You don't know who it is. They didn't call or text before. It's weird in today's world to get a knock on your door.
Or somebody knocks on the door, it's like DEF CON level. It's higher.
Sorry about that.
I don't know how DEF CON works. Does it get higher or lower as it gets more intense?
Yeah, if you knock on the door and like I wasn't aware of it, pump action gets pumped at the door on the other side.
I mean, the sound of that alone, you could probably just get an audio clip of that on your phone. Just turn your speaker all the way up and just play it behind a door. That's enough to shut shit down.
Oh yeah, it's not loaded, dude.
Everyone knows that sound. I'm just saying it's a scary sound.
We have a lot more historical reference remains in South America that were hidden by dense forests and whatnot. It turns out there's thousands of pyramids there, right?
Oh yeah,
ziggurats and other stuff.
Yeah, they got that new LiDAR technology that sees through the canopy. And if you look up LiDAR images of South America, you'll see there's hundreds and hundreds of pyramids and maybe not all pyramids, but there's cities and roads and buildings and as you name it, that jungle is full of ancient buildings and civilizations from who knows how far back, probably very long time.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, there was a mountain there for a long time. Nobody had a clue it was actually a pyramid.
Right.
And lo and behold, somebody one day said, I wonder.
Yep. Yeah, I was amazed when I seen the amount of roads that they had built underneath the canopy from city to city. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of miles of road. I mean, they're not like freeways or anything like that, and so there was a lot of work put into those roads by somebody, and they
Yeah,
go
somebody.
for
That's the thing.
yeah.
It's crazy long. I mean, the lengths you're talking about, and like going through the chroniclers, it was already there as far as the recorded history. It
Yep.
was whoever built it, and for what purpose it makes sense to us nowadays, but we weren't taught that back then they had the ability to have such a vast civilizations.
They had all kinds of irrigation. They had rerouted rivers and irrigation. They had, you name it. I mean, it was fully developed civilization.
You guys think the ancients were less capable than us?
Oh, I don't
Depends
know.
on
I
what you're
think they were.
talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that. It depends on what you're talking about. I mean, I think there
I don't
was.
think it depends on anything. I don't think it depends on anything we're talking about. I think they were more capable than us with everything. So I don't know.
Well,
Which thing do you think they're less
electronics.
capable of? What?
Let's talk about electronics.
Yeah, I got plenty
Computers.
I got plenty of old world paintings of what look like iPads, what look like TVs, security cameras, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, I've
You know
seen
what's
some
funny?
of that stuff too.
So the thing that's depicted as a TV in all these old world paintings, that's coincidentally the first kind of TV we got. So the first kind of planes we have in history, airships, you know, they're old world. There's depictions of them in the old world. The first televisions are these black round black mirrors that were allegedly invented, like I mean, I don't know what electronics you think we have that they didn't. They just reset civilization and then gave us the kind of electronics that were that they could survey us and feed us propaganda with, but it's all based on stuff that they already knew about, they've had before.
Yeah, I was just thinking more of the super sophisticated stuff is all. Like, surveillance, satellites, weird shit like that. I just think there's probably a few things they didn't have. I don't know.
All the ancient books talk about like massive weather control and flying cities and UFOs. So I don't know what you're talking about, that we invented things that fly.
How come we can find their ruins? We can find some of their art, like pottery, artwork, some of their tools even, but we've never found any of their technology.
So the tools that they show you are just the ones that they cherry picked, right? So they buried, they stole all the high tech stuff, and it's a very elaborate, very meticulous like reset. And even the population was reintroduced, was handpicked genetically, the kinds of races, species. I'm sorry, not species, races, traits, and all this stuff. So everyone was re-educated. So I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, they show us some wooden spoons, so this proves that they didn't have televisions. Like, I don't know.
Would these
No, I get what you're
televisions get
saying.
a signal if they didn't have satellites or they didn't have antennas? Usually TV antennas are pretty big.
So you guys think that, and you guys think in 100 years since the invention of a light bulb, we got iPhones, and we're all talking, video chatting and all this stuff. You think that makes sense to you?
I don't know.
Progression of technology.
You're being pretty vague. to be honest with you. But
I'm not being big at all.
I'm not saying I know any of what you're talking
was a
about,
direct question.
the specifics and stuff. If you've got specifics and you can present some of this stuff
Yeah,
you're talking
every
about,
single
I'd
everything
like
that
to see it.
everything that they claim to invent, it's just a fake invention story. Like I was just watching the video footage we have of the Wright brothers' first flight, and ironically, no one that's there for the Wright brothers' first flight was even looking at the plane itself. So it's clearly just a composited layer that like some old world like toy kind of stop motion type thing is overlaid, and there's always the vanilla sky and all this old world stuff. Like there's never the sky showing, so it's very easy to do stuff. That's like what during the TFE footage, the blue of the sky was chroma keyed out, but it's a little bit less advanced version of that because they were doing things more physically with like old school, like how old school Hollywood made its props, and they did everything like put layers together, like in a less digital way. But yeah, the Wright brothers' first flight, no one's actually looking at the plane, and I can show you guys that there's no one that's even noticeably like their face is pointed towards the plane flying, and the plane flying, it almost doesn't even look like it's physically like it's not oriented or moving in a way that seems plausible as far as like how aerodynamics is.
Yeah, the vanilla sky thing, you're right. I've seen all the old pictures and photos, and the sky is just like blotted out. It's just like this real, there's no clouds, it's really weird. It's just kind of this weird colored sky that there's like it looks like a cover up. It looks like they're trying to hide something, to be honest with you, but I don't know what's in the sky that they're hiding. Obviously, there was some things that they didn't want us to see for whatever reason.
Well, it might be that, and also it might just be that it's like a fake model. Like it's not a real. A lot of these building pictures aren't even real buildings. They're just literally little toy model replicas. Like the Hoover Dam being. If you look up the pictures of the Hoover Dam being built, there's pictures of the dam already built, which look real, and it's kind of dirty, and they're cleaning it up. But the pictures of it being put together, it looks like a little toy model. Like it's a joke. The Eiffel Tower too. It's like 7 pictures of like no one working ever. It's just like it looks like a toy model. That's why I think part of the vanilla sky is just because you're not actually outside when they're taking those pictures.
It reminded me, when you said that, it reminded me of when they showed a nuclear blast, and it showed these buildings getting blown from the shock wave and then sucked back. And then I found out that those were actually little just doll houses that they had built and filmed this.
Yeah, it's like the moon landing little RC car. It's a little RC car.
Yeah, that's crazy to think that they could get away with that kind of shit. And they did for a lot of years, but it's kind of came to light now. But there's still a lot of people that don't even know. There's still a lot of people that think those nuclear blasts were real and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's pretty weird situation we're in right now on the Earth.
Hey, I was just going to say, some of those pictures of the Eiffel Tower, you can see where it's on. Looks like a bobby or a cop, and then he's standing on a platform, and then there's arches that the Eiffel Tower was built on that's already buried. I find that ironic as heck.
Yeah. What's the most glaringly like obvious thing about like the building pictures is that they're not ever being built in like the way that the steps that people take to build things, right? You're doing first you're doing the frame, and then you're doing some other like structural stuff, and then you start putting the stone mix and working on the trim. A lot of these almost all these building pictures, it's half of the thing is fully finished, and then the rest of the frame is like allegedly being worked on. Like you would never, when you're doing the heavy like frame stuff and the dirty start of like a building, you're not going to do any of the nice trim underneath it. Like you're not going to finish the nice trim underneath it. Like it's laughable, the pictures they show people. And the stories are ridiculous. Like there's just so many like ridiculous stories that I could like bring up, but I mean the one of the funnier ones is like the London Bridge. So the depictions we have of like what the London Bridge used to look like is basically like a super highway covered in like buildings. It was basically like 4 times as wide as like what the London Bridge is now, and it had buildings on top of it, like markets and just full like you know complex buildings. Um, and what their story is that they took apart one of the bridges. They delivered it to America. So America has a bridge that looks like the London Bridge, and it's one of those, European looking bridges in America, and they have to claim, that's European architecture. So why is it in America? Oh, we'll just say that they delivered a London Bridge here. And then the rest of the London Bridge they demolished because it was so big and almost, it's just ridiculous. It's like how do you even explain that they had the ability to make just such large bridges? So they took it down, and then they say, they delivered part of it to America, which just also seems pretty infeasible to deliver a fucking bridge. But when you look at the pictures of that bridge being built in America, it's not being built, it's just being dug out. It's literally covered in just like, it's covered up to the bridge in sediment. There's no pictures of it being built at all.
Where would you guess the sediment come from? Are you talking about the flood or what?
Well, I have like a bunch of theories. Like for the most part, when I go around and I look at this stuff, it looks like the pieces of the buildings that were destroyed are just laying as rubble all around. And if you look at pictures of the Great Fires and stuff like that, you'll see pictures with rubble everywhere. So the whole mud flood theory for me doesn't really work for most of the stuff I see. But there's also pictures that do look like mud flood kind of things, like that there was a
I'm
large
not really saying the mud flood. I'm talking about the Great Flood.
Well, the mud flood
if it
could have.
really happened.
How do we know the mud flood wasn't the Great Flood? I don't.
It could have been. It could have been. I'm not saying I know everything about what took place, but I'm just saying that I don't think that these isolated mud floods. I think it had to have been more of a global incident. That's just my opinion.
Did you say you had pictures of London Bridge, Kill?
The one in yeah. What you mean the drawings of what it used to look like?
Oh yeah, sure. Send them to me. Let me have a look.
Well, I'm gonna do.
Post them.
Jeremy said I could present some stuff, so I might do that in a little bit.
Okay. I'd be intrigued to see that.
Yeah, me too. It'd be interesting.
I know.
It's just a drawing, though. It's not a real picture. Unfortunately, there's nothing. I do think photography existed back then, but they wouldn't have kept it because that would be weird.
Yeah, that's a weird thing about photography. How far back does photography really go? You know what I mean? When was the first camera ever, built, used, whatever? That's a whole different topic for discussion there.
What's funny is we have photographs of the first camera, so it's like, was that the first camera? Because who took the picture?
Yeah, that's odd.
You know where AWAR did a video on this about the Vanilla Skies co-op. He said they were
Who
like
did?
that because of the exposure or something like that. So
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. You know, there was years ago when some friends of mine, we used to go into one of the rooms on 24/7 down below, and we'd research the alternative history stuff, the mud flood shit. I mean, we just went in all directions for a couple of years. Seen all kinds of weird shit, you know? I mean, I can't really remember all of it because there was just so much. We just went on like a 2-year fucking deep dive into all this weird shit. Tartaria, mud floods, fuck you name it. We went there, and yeah, it's hard to make sense of it all for me.
I think a lot of these people, I think it's been a slap in the face to these people as well, because they were a different work ethic back then. People used to work their arse off, and they work with their hands, and that's largely been lost now. I mean, so there's still some stuff out there, but it used to get passed on through the families, didn't it? But
About this mud floods. If you look at nature, when all the vegetation is off the land, and if you look at Antarctica, they found animals totally frozen in time in that thing. But when that ice is melting, that water is going to come onto the land, and that land has no vegetation. So that land is going to slide. We see that in our world today. So those mud floods could well be just to the replacement of displacement of ground just by melting.
well, yeah, I mean, if you get a flood, you're going to get sediment, so that's why I never really bought into the mud flood idea. Plus, it's just like respectfully flat Earth. It's the same thing where it's like you always got to catch your name. Probably a psychological operation of some kind.
Yo, Andy, Andy, you have it.
But if you look into like I can't remember the exact time frame, but English countrysides, we look at them and we think, oh, nature, beautiful, but no, look up a guy called Capability Brown. He changed the entire landscape of Britain, and you would never believe it.
Look at Paul Cook. Look at Paul Cook on YouTube. He shows the geopolymer that is underneath the terrain of the whole Britain. So that's just like Malta. It has a whole structure beneath the soil.
Yeah, Paul Cook, he's an interesting character. I've seen a lot of his stuff. It's pretty cool to see. And like you said, all of Europe, my God, all the shit that he's shown is underneath the ground and
Well,
just covered up.
Yeah, but it even
It's
shows
fucking crazy.
how those old
Europe.
buildings,
Everywhere, dude. Everywhere
how
in
the
the
water
U.S.
runs through them. From top to bottom to those buildings, even with the pyramids and everything. He shows that the ancients, they knew damn well how to use the forces of nature.
Yeah, I agree with Crizzle. I think Andy's an idiot.
Excuse you? What the fuck are you talking about? AIX and Stace. Yikes.
Stacy's boyfriend.
Yeah. Sounds about as annoying as well.
I'm just saying.
Oh boy.
Andy, I gotta give you props for that one. That's good.
Yeah, well, everybody's got their thing, you know. Let them have it. Without variety and without all, everybody's idea of this and that and whatever, and their opinions of, regardless of how ridiculous they are, you can always glean something from them. You can always, adventure off into some new shit.
Hey, God Rockin', hey, thank you for saying that. I don't want to hear anybody else right now, but thank you from God and
Andy,
God
you
Rockin'.
invoked Stacy. Why'd you do this to us?
Wait. Forgive me, Andy, for some crazy comment you heard earlier. I love Andy. You know I do, Andy. You're my friend. And God Rockin', you are God effing. Have
Stacy,
a good night, y'all.
contributing as usual.
Hey, don't judge me on other people's fucking bullshit around here. I'm trying to live and survive through it, okay? Amen. Say it again. God
Thank you so
rocking.
much. Thank you so much.
And guess what, Jen? Shout out to you because I heard thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Gotta lay off the drugs, the sauce. I don't know what you're sipping on, but
Lay off
it's
the amphetamines.
Q up. That dropped him with the shit, speaking shit, right? Let's eat shit and survive. Q up. Forgive me. I couldn't see who's speaking, but I heard some like language. It was like mommy problems.
it's the voices in your head,
I
Stacy.
bless you and your.
We're in your
you
head.
just make it worse. Why do people
You
make it
are
worse?
tripping
Is
balls,
there
man.
people that make it worse in your life and you can't help a big brain or a little brain? Right? Because they keep telling you have a big brain and a little brain because it's all that comment. There's people that actually abuse people, and there's people that
Stacy,
just want.
Stacy, I've done so much drugs. How am I more normal than you?
This is what I mean. I'm gonna get muted. I don't want it to be muted. What I want is an actual. I want to meet a truther who's actually fucking truthful. I met Riggs. He's kind of truthful. He's a bitch sometimes, but at least he's truthful, right? Riggs will tell you he's a nigga, right? Don't have a mother, but at least he's. I swear to God.
Oh my god, you guys should try it. Just mute her. Like, oh, it's
No,
so
don't
peaceful.
mute me. Mute what is right and what is wrong in this world. Because y'all have met me, and some of y'all have abused me, and I'm not calling anyone out who thinks they are actually being called out right now. No, Riggs ain't being called out because he spent about almost $15,000 to help me and my mom. By the way, so if you think you're
Noah
calling,
went a different route. He just
calling
deafened
Riggs out
himself
or anybody might
and probably cut his ears off.
You're stupid.
Riggs is a pet car in the garage. Isn't that what you call a rig? Like, the guy's nothing. Honey.
What I'm trying to show you is a time and place for this shit. And it's not on a fucking server right now. When I just come in here and just go escape from the work, because it's called escapism, that's what Discord is. It's escapism for all of us. And it's not escapism when you have abuse upon abuse from your own truthers. And brain knows brain. Equal. You're right. I'm going to get punished for that tonight. But brain, I don't care what the fuck you want. If you think you want some shit, eating shit, and you're going to survive, you up. But you're still going to know brain. His brain. That's what he said. Wiz is a fucking fool right now. He's like, I see you. I see truth. But Q up. No, you make shit worse. What is wrong with you all? No offense. I'm not gonna blame other people for this shit. But what makes you all so trolling? Like,
talking, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have mommy issues still, dude? It's not funny. Don't laugh at him because it actually is a problem in the world. It's not funny.
Yo,
Actually,
Jeremy,
it's not
can you
funny.
mute her? Can I give my little
Jeremy's
presentation?
not in here, bro. You're not in EA, bro. Did you forget that? Oh my God. I'm the one who had only 4 shots of vodka, and this man's. You need to eat some more shit to make you feel better? Does that make you feel like consciously like aware? So we can fight about some shit, about some women's shit that you have a problem with feminists. I guess there's a feminist problem in this community, and especially biblical, right? You can't preach, you can't talk, you can't walk, you can't do anything around here, except the Globers will actually treat you with some fucking respect.
Did everyone else mute her? Andy just deafened. Andy and Noah deafened. We're losing people. Stace, I know what you're saying.
No,
It's not good.
truthers are losing their own people because they're not effing truthers, and you're showing us all why women don't exist in this community. Yeah.
Yo, Jeremy, can I give my presentation? You gonna check out the melted
Can you
buildings?
actually verify that you're in actual reality and not on some DMT trip, bro? That the gods are speaking to you, you think you're in EA and Jeremy's around you, bro? Vodka might actually help you over DMT.
Why is no one talking, but she's like lighting up? Dude. Who is she talking to?
You, bro. Did you remember, even when I called that Witsa, I said, oh my God, Witsa, and oh, shut up. Shut up.
Yeah, why do you have a girl problem? Why do girls scare you?
This is not how you reach people. It reaches people when you stop. Listen, your mama actually loves you.
Can someone mute her?
Your mama should mute you, honey. She already did. She already did. And that's why you have a problem with me.
Why is there not a mod in here, dude?
When you're not being respectful.
Go on.
Yes. Yes. Stone doesn't melt. due to heat, right? And nobody's gonna build like buildings out of putty, right? You expect whatever you're going to make to harden up, and then it's going to stay that way for a very long time. So why would it seem that some buildings seem melted? Well, they didn't melt. They just lost like the solid cohesion that it had. So probably some kind of sonic event caused like as it could destabilize hills and cause like mudslides. So could it perhaps, when it hits a certain frequency, cause solid stone to start resonating and turn into putty temporarily? It might have been like a very short moment, but enough for it to suddenly all turn to clay and halfway collapse in on itself. I think that
I'm guessing.
much better explains why it's malformed, other than melting, because stone does not melt.
But I think they do melt,
Well,
depending on what
if you
stone it is.
No.
if you
I think
enlight
granite.
Turns,
sulfur,
I literally use stones as like backdrop material when I go
But granite
smelt gold.
melts.
When I go smelt
with
gold at extremely high
guys,
temperatures, because it does do one thing specifically not, and that is melt.
when you
Wait, what?
ignite
Is Arwen
sulfur,
saying that
it
melted rock
turns
doesn't
into
exist?
lava. When that flows over buildings, it will look just like that.
I think granite melts. Definitely.
What
I know
exactly
that
is
for
lava?
Sulfur, when you ignite sulfur, the sulfur they found in Sodom and Gomorrah, when you enlight that with fire, it turns into lava. It looks just like running lava or blood.
Yeah, how do you?
When that goes dripping over a building, it would look like it was melted.
But the thing is, this isn't even like actual like. Well, first of all, I don't even really believe in much of the natural. Much boulders are natural anyway. But these are stone mixed buildings, right? So they're designed to be poured, and then they solidify. So if they're reheated,
Yep.
they would just be able to reform easily.
Well, if they'd be turned into putty, then they start bending, and that's how you could have building parts that seem like they collapsed in. That's not because it's molten. It's not because something liquid is poured over it. It's
I just showed.
because the molecular cohesion suddenly turns to
Okay,
clay.
molecular cohesion, boy. I just showed fucking poured pieces of the mix, covering pieces of cathedral stone. So did you see the last picture I showed? I kind of lagged out, so I don't know if anyone saw it.
Yeah, I didn't see the last bit.
Was it? It looked like a gravestone. That one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone else has a better theory than it's just fucking melted piece of the other parts of the building that are on top of it.
What's molten temperature of stone?
Well, it's not real stone. It's a stone mix. So probably
Yeah, but like I mean, it'd be if it had stone in it. You'd have to melt the stone. So it'd be like I don't know, over 2,000.
Roman concrete is literally designed so that it can like reseal. So this is a mix that would be able to turn soft and then reseal.
Oh, I thought you were making like an argument for that they forged it, in a sense.
What do you mean forged it?
Like forged the stone, like melted it down and then just casted it.
Yeah, that's what the original building is. And then what happened is that there was like an EMF attack by some rulers that want to reset the area, and parts of the buildings are destroyed, and parts of it have pieces of the other parts melted onto it, just like 9/11.
That's some extreme fucking heat going on.
Well, yeah, I mean the story of all these like great fires, like and all these stone buildings just being destroyed doesn't make sense with fires. You need extreme heat to destroy a fucking stone building.
Yeah, like someone mentioned, I think the lady mentioned volcanoes.
But look, you could like melt something, destroy it with the Fresnel lens. I've argued that they might have had like extreme sized Fresnel lenses in the far past that they would basically float around on ships, and that from the coast they could literally just absolutely devastate cities with that at a distance, like because it will shatter stone. Like it's so hot, it shatters stone. It doesn't really melt it.
Okay, well, so you're whatever you're claiming they used, if it doesn't melt stone, then it's not working with the pictures I'm showing because I'm showing melted.
I think he's
Stone
talking
melts.
about the
Destroys
moisture.
Happens
things.
under
That's
the
like
earth all the
provable
time.
that it does that.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the moisture in the stone. It's going to cause the stone to explode when you apply heat to it.
Yep.
It'll do that, but it will melt. Stone
The point
will
is, it
melt.
does not melt.
It ha-
It burns.
It has a melting temperature though, so that unless that's wrong.
Yeah, but the total amount of heat that would be required to completely melt all that stone all at the same time, that's beyond like physical existence level heat. That's like
Really? So what
being
is
at the
lava?
surface of the theoretical sun level amount of energy and heat. Like no, that's not that.
Ask
That's
him what
not
comes
there
out of
because then
volcanoes.
everything would have been destroyed. It's not how it happened. And
All
I've
right, so
seen
it
things
says
that are obviously not molten by heat, but it's like they're bent, like they've turned into putty and malformed and then hardened back up again.
well, this is saying it's 22 to 2400 Fahrenheit for granite. Limestone's 25ish to 27ish. 2700, 2500, 2700. Basalt is 2000 to 2200. Marble's only 825 to 1500. Oh,
Isn't
sorry, I got that wrong.
molten
That's
stone?
Celsius. 15 to 27. It says in general, most stones will melt at temperatures above 1000 Celsius, 1800 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, if you put it in an oven that is 1000 degrees Celsius in its totality. Yeah, that's not the open realm.
Well, yeah,
It's
you need a
not gonna be
furnace,
the
right?
open realm. So in the open realm, you can only heat stone like that locally if you're lucky enough. It's not gonna melt the whole thing like that. It's just not feasible. It didn't all get put into an oven.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's saying that.
Yeah, but that is what is required in order to support the theory that it melted because of heat.
Or just unknown technology, right? Because
Yeah,
I mean,
but
we played
there's
down
no
the
hint
past.
that with any technology that would be possible, even logically,
Yeah,
because
when we talk about the past,
that's
though,
for
it's
the heat
always
in
like
the
we put
open.
ourselves
It would
above them,
have to be
right?
so
And
hot it
the
would
past is like,
destroy
oh,
everything.
we
Oh,
grew
yeah,
from them.
no. Yeah, middle of the sentence. Yeah.
But it's like there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to talk too. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, interrupting is usually because somebody's trying to talk to. I know.
I was trying to make a point. Just saying, it's like unknown technology. You know, we don't know what they discovered. We don't know what past civilizations have discovered. So they could have potentially had, you know, technology that was capable of this.
Well, they had technology that did something, but it wouldn't have been heat because just like you need a container to have gas pressure as an antecedent, you don't need to know what kind of thing that built that and all that and the technology, you just know it. And in the same way, you know that if you're going to apply heat to an open system, it's going to escape. The more the heat builds up, and then in order to heat in the open a vast amount of space and rock and all that simultaneously to get that process, the amount of energy that would have to be inserted just by being that much energy would just end up destroying everything.
Right. So we can
It's
see.
not going
We
to
can.
happen. There
We
is
can
no
see.
technology that can do that under
Right.
any conditions.
Okay, dude, relax, man. I'm just saying the observation, the pictures show a smooth finish compared to like what appears to be a melted image, like in the same image, a melted substance versus a smooth surface on the rock. So it's like, okay, sure, we could say nothing can possibly do that with heat. Okay, well, maybe what I'm trying to say is maybe we just don't know what caused it. We haven't gotten there yet. Maybe they
I
were
have an
there.
alternative theory, though, and that is through sonic vibration. You can literally, on a molecular level, get to some material's frequency and manipulate its internal molecular structure really dramatically, like
Yeah, the
extremely
Hitchinson, right?
dramatic. And that
Hutchinson,
not
is it?
the energy of doing that does not absolutely frickin' destroy everything. It will only specifically influence the material of which you are hitting that specific frequency. So it's
Right.
way more feasible that
We
something like
we
that
have
would
that tech, is what you're saying? We have that technology that does that?
Yeah, we have that technology right now.
Like we could make stone do that, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You do realize magma, aka lava, is molten rock, right? And that it forms islands according to like whatever you may read.
Yeah, magma
I
would
tried
do
to
that.
point that out, but wasn't having it.
Yeah, people overtalk. Like they forgot about molten lava. Like
Yeah, but pouring lava over rock does not make that rock melt and then malform and harden back up. It's
If
just
it exceeds
pour
the
the whole
melting
thing in
point,
lava
yes,
is
it
what that's
would.
gonna do.
the magma hardens
Yeah, why
into
would it not?
Because you'd need to cast so much lava over it, it would just literally completely bury all of it under lava before it would start to actually melt because of the lava.
no one's saying
heat that
no
much.
one's saying we're gonna use the lava to melt the rock, Arwyn. We're just saying that the lava hardens into rock.
Yeah, very specific type of rock.
Yeah, the problem with that though is what else is in the image? A smooth surface. So it's like, all right, what, a volcano? So what would we say then? A volcano exploded or erupted and then dripped down, but left that part out, and then just created more rock underneath it. I mean, that's a tough sell.
Yeah, or a giant sound-based earthquake that was like really specific, really intense, caused sound vibrations that had
Earthquake?
points that would cause material to destabilize and other points not so much, which is why at one point it seems all molten and then the other point it does not, because the vibration didn't hit hard enough at that point because of how sound divides itself with cymatics.
Yeah, I don't know
I
about the
thought about
earthquake
this,
theory.
guys. This is not just random.
Yeah, just not a fan of the earthquake thing.
Sonic, sound-based weapons.
Yeah, I don't know of any. I'm not familiar with any weapons that can do that to a stone.
Really? Well, we have
Yeah.
earthquake weapons right now, allegedly, that can cause earthquakes. So maybe you could fine-tune that technology and then actually cause very specific vibrations, not to cause breaking earthquakes, but locally melt stone or another material by attuning it to that very specific frequency that would do that.
Right, Nikolai Tesla was working with vibration and frequency machines that would do stuff like that.
Yeah, the death ray does exactly that.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Hutchinson. I think it's Hutchinson, right? The Hutchinson effect or whatever. He does some
It's
crazy
basically a
ass shit to
vibration
alloys.
the exact material, and then it just completely disintegrates its internal molecular structure, but temporarily.
Well, I
So
don't know
it
if
stops.
that's what it's doing.
Come
But
on, man. The fuck?
What? What was that?
Just like how there's that note that you can play that'll shatter crystal glasses and whatnot, right?
What?
yeah, like putting your finger around the rim. To get it high pitch enough.
you know, like A flat or E flat. I forget the note, but if you know, like if it's playing loud enough, it can shatter like nearby glass or crystal.
Yeah, a high vibration, high sound that resonates with the exact shape of that glass and the material, and then it will cause a cancellation or an oscillation rather. It's the oscillation pattern within it. If you tune it just right, then it'll overburden the structural integrity and shatter it. I mean, just look at the ancient architecture. You would have already figured out about it. It's cymatic, like these fortresses, these cathedrals. They're like sonic devices. They've been designed to like amplify and use the properties of sound. If they're so perfected with sound, then the idea that they would have had sonic weapons that could temporarily melt or destabilize stone is really not much of a stretch. It's actually so much not of a stretch that there is an abundance of evidence to support that they would have had such a weapons instead of some giant fire heat thing.
Oh, you really don't like the heat theory.
No, it's just not real. It's not the thing that did that.
Well, you don't know.
Yeah, I do. I just
Oh,
gave you a ton of the reasoning why.
yeah, but you have like, I mean, you're just saying shit. It's not like you're like,
No,
yeah,
I'm not
I
saying
know
shit.
this
I'm
device
arguing
can
an
do
argument.
this exactly. You know, it's like we don't know. Just say you don't know, guy. It's all right.
Yeah, well, you can logically deduce what it could have been and what it can't be, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, that's my point though. It's to our understanding. What if they were more advanced? Like, what if their understanding was far superior to us because they had like a unified, populace that actually gave a shit about each other and worked together on things and shared information versus our current society that's just
Can you do
cutthroat.
that so well that you could reach the point where you can literally break the laws of nature and make physics completely reversed? No.
I don't know. Maybe they had a different understanding on things.
Yeah. Oh, suddenly they had such a great understanding they can suddenly like reverse the second law of thermodynamics and all. No,
That's not what I said.
You're
What the
always
fuck
gonna
does
have
gas
to
pressure
work
have
with
to do with
nature.
stone melting,
You're
dude?
always gonna have to work with nature and catch up on what you could do with what exists.
So the entropy, because that doesn't even make sense. But all right, whatever.
Oh, you
Arvin.
don't understand how this works.
Okay, how about this? You show me the weapon that will do this, and then I'll say, yes, you were right, Arvin. You were so correct. It's like you rule out every possible,
The giant sticker.
explanation
What does
except
that
for your
define
own.
you?
It's like you can't even humor
You could
any
do it
other
with
idea.
freaking drums, dude, if you just designed it specifically for it.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Perfect.
What's
So you
going on?
guys, I don't want to interrupt, but you were talking about the laws of nature, and yeah, I admit in nature the laws of nature can't be broken, but isn't it kind of a law of nature that man can't fly in nature, but
No,
synthetically he can
it's
build
not law of
aircraft?
nature. Talking about physics laws, natural law, not like biological laws of the jungle. Not talking about that's nothing to do with this.
You started
Talking
this
about
conversation
physics,
by
how
saying rock
physics
doesn't have
works,
a
how it
melting point.
natural law
And talk about
how it
physics
always
and
works,
laws of nature.
cannot be contradicted.
You guys go ahead.
Yeah,
No, there's
I'm
no
not trying to
point.
say. I'm not trying to say a contradiction though. Like I'm not trying to say that. All I'm trying to say is maybe it was something like we couldn't understand how bees flew, right? And then we analyzed the bee and we figured out and like, oh shit, isn't that interesting? So it gets its own little laws of physics, right? That's all I'm trying to say. Maybe they had an understanding on something, some type of technology, right? And with that technology, they did this.
Are you talking about the pyramids?
No, so QOP came in and he showed some pictures of what appeared to be melted stone or just raw natural stone, and incorporated into that stone was like very smooth finishes. So either someone went there and just etched out that part and said, "Fuck this, I'm bored," and left, or it formed somehow. You know.
Tell me you're from Boston without telling me you're from Boston. Yeah, please continue.
And I'd like to argue immediately in response to that description that you're not going to heat rock to the point where it's going to melt and then have some parts of that not melt and be still perfectly smooth. It's not going to happen. Like, you are subjected to so much heat that parts of it are going to melt. Yeah, well, then the whole thing will equally heat that much. You're not going to have any smooth surfaces left because it's getting hot in that entire place enough to melt it. Yeah, it's not going to end up looking like that. It's not heat.
Yeah, unless they found a way to like direct the heat, right? If it's just like you poured heat over it, yeah, no, that wouldn't happen. I wouldn't
But
think
if you
it would
heat it
happen.
up in any way to the point where it's going to melt, then the whole thing is going to be heated like that.
No, that's just
And it's
not
not going to
true.
leave smooth
That's
surfaces.
not how heat works. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
what you're
it
talking
is.
about.
I'm a
That's like,
freaking goldsmith. I have physically heated a lot of different things, and that's exactly how it works. I
then
know
you're
this from
wrong.
personal experience.
You should know better. If you melt steel, if you bring steel, a plate of steel to the melting point, right? That isolated heat zone is going to melt, not the entire plate. It's called heat dispersion.
Yeah. And you know what? When you heat a thing and then you stop heating it, you know what? It's not going to have parts of still seemingly perfectly unheated, smooth, unpolished looking surfaces in between the heated parts. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's just the mill finish. That's the finish from the forge in the cast. Like, that's all it is.
Oh
That's
my
all that
god.
steel is. All you're
That is
doing is burning the mill scale off the steel, right? And you create a heat affected zone, and the properties scream out to the edges, and then as it cools, everything comes back, right? But if you control the cooling process, right, and you bring it to a certain temperature and let everything rest and maintain that temperature, the material will go back to normal.
It's
Like, it's
going to be
literally how you do
affected by the
X-ray.
heat. It's going to be affected by the heat, maybe not to the point where it melts, but it is going to be affected.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what you mean by that, but okay.
Is that you're not going to have smooth, polished surfaces left in between. That's not going to happen. It will too be heated. Maybe not enough to melt it, but it too will be heated.
What? You're saying the whole plate is gonna have a fucked up finish? Is what you're saying? No, that's just not the case. Not at all. Only the heat affected zone is going to be
I've
impacted
seen
by the heat.
plenty of things that were molten and moved and ended up with a smooth finish.
Dude, this is just tedious.
Well, I don't know. This is kind of my field, right? This is my field you're talking about,
What, being
and you're
stupid?
telling me shit that doesn't make sense. You're saying if I heat a metal to the melting temperature, right? It's gonna cause the entire plate to lose its finish. Yeah, if I drop it in a forge or a furnace, like an oven, something like that, then yeah, sure, I'll give you that one. But if I take a torch and just crank the oxygen, acetylene, MAP gas, whatever you want to use, and then just sit that torch in one spot, that material is going to hit the melting temperature. Right? The whole plate isn't going to be
It depends
destroyed.
on the material you're using.
I just said steel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna heat up.
Doesn't matter. Steel, stainless.
Any shine that piece of steel is still gonna, that it had before you started heating it, that's gonna go away. Once you cool it
Only
off,
in the heat affected
literally the
zone.
coloring of it will be different. Yeah.
Only in the heat affected zone, Arwyn.
No.
Yes.
No. It's gonna
Then
go
you have
way
no
outside
clue
of
what you're
that zone
talking
because
about.
it
You have
radiates. The
absolutely
heat
no
radiates from the
Yeah.
directly heated spot to the not so much heated spots.
Yep. So I'm going to say it again. You have no clue what you're talking about when it comes to heating
Yeah, I
steel.
fucking do, asshole. Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
I'm a goldsmith.
Well, you
I
keep telling me I'm
fucking-
wrong, and I know I'm not because I do this for a living, right? I play with fire to build shit, and you're telling me this is going to happen, but it's not what happens. You have a heat affected zone. It doesn't, all that heat doesn't disperse to every inch of that plate and create the same temperature. No. Very few materials are going to have that type of rapid dispersion for heat. Like something like aluminum, yeah, sure. The heat will just spread out rapidly, right? But something like steel, no. It's just not how it works. I could cut through a piece of steel, right? I cut through a steel plate, grind that little area I cut through, and you can never tell that plate was cut.
Yeah, that's with welding cuts.
No, it's
Yeah.
not welding cut. You don't cut with welding.
Yeah, electric cutting, right? You
No,
just
oxy.
oxy.
Torch cutting,
Okay.
plasma cutting, carbon
Right, plasma
gouging,
cut.
like
Yeah, that would do it.
plenty of them.
Plasma, what's that? My teacher taught me there's only 3 states of matter. Did my teacher lie to me? Okay, Globers, why would they lie? Please. Are you guys telling me I'm so old that they didn't know about plasma in the 80s and 90s? Come on.
It's just old. That's what it's.
Nah, they knew about it earlier, but they just didn't think of classifying it within the standard chemistry yet. They just thought it wasn't really worth considering. And that all changed, of course. Eventually.
You know, I think it turns out that the whole Earth and everything within it is electrical in nature. I could be wrong.
I think a lot of life is electrical in nature, really. Or like the spirit is probably electrical in nature. All kinds of things. Telepathy might even be technically electric in nature. A lot of things are electrical, but I mean, material itself is not.
So how did you remove the electrons from the material?
What the theoretical concept from the theoretical concept it is conceived to be a part of?
No, I
Without
think we can
actually
all
seeing
agree that
anything?
electrons exist.
No, they're
Like,
just a concept. They're just part of a concept.
so what makes plasma plasma? The free electrons?
Plasma.
That is
It's
really hot.
plasma.
Is it the free electrons? The gas particles are so excited that the electrons become free?
Yeah, maybe that you could think of it like that. Sure. Right?
Well, I don't want to think of it incorrectly.
In the subatomic model, how that's supposed to work? Yeah, sure. That's how it is conceived of.
Yeah, but I'm not mathematically describing something as a concept. I'm trying to figure out what the reality of nature is. So I don't want a concept. I want to know what the truth is.
Well, the truth is that we can describe things that we literally can't see. And just because a description fits a prediction and an outcome, like that makes us very convinced that the conception that we've not really seen is the thing that has been demonstrated.
I agree with that. That's the, what's it called? The what fallacy? Just because it works, the pragmatic fallacy, is that it? I'm not saying you're committing the pragmatic fallacy. I'm saying
I know
what you're
what you
describing.
I get it, you're trying to agree.
Yeah, I'm trying to agree with you.
For me, it's just correlation is not causation, is what it is.
Agreed.
And like everything is all freaking filled up with it. I mean, the entire description of the like light spectrum and how that's analyzed based on it assumed to be a wave and wave function and all this stuff. And I mean, none of it is actually proven. Like it's just we just classified this other property of light that it has that we think of it as on a spectrum. Because we can think of light as a wave, we can now classify this extra spectral effect about it and mathematically describe it through it being a wave. Even though it's not a wave, there's no real indication that it is a wave. And just everything becomes a gigantic mess of assuming how something is supposed to work being the cause of things that we have categorized and mapped out and are proven to work. It's like, welcome to the freaking world, man. It's full of that shit.
Are you saying that light is not a wave?
You're damn right it isn't.
Oh. Okay. I thought light was a wave and a particle, just not at the same time.
Yeah, that's the popular thing they like to roll out. But I mean, no, it's not a particle and it's not a wave, and it does not have a speed.
It's a wave, bro.
What is light?
It's both, but if you can almost catch it when you're playing peekaboo, right? If you play peekaboo with the light, you can almost catch it.
This fucking guy. That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's
It's a wave,
instantaneous.
bro.
It's a beam. There's no speed because it's instantaneous. It's not a particle because that visualization would necessitate a speed. That's part of atomism. And like the entire, like so much sci-fi bullshit has come out of that assumption. It's mind-boggling. Okay? It doesn't have a speed. It's instantaneous. It's not a particle, and it's definitely not a wave. Because then you like that makes even less sense. Right?
It's certainly a wave with a rate of induction.
It's just a
Sure, you
frequency.
could calculate it to be like a wave, but it isn't a wave. Yeah, when you have light splitting up with two slits and a double split setup, yeah, what happens? Yeah, it goes into straight beams, and it spreads itself out like as if there is a wave function. But guess what? It isn't a wave. There's no ripples crossing each other and then ending up to those beams. No, they're literally all straight beams. You could put little matchsticks in between the light beams and it would not have any influence on what it's doing because they're not ripples moving out. They're literally straight line beams. Light is not a wave.
I think it is. It's a wave of the ether. You detect it when the wave crests, and you don't detect it when the wave is flat. It's a disturbance of a background medium.
Right, now we need to conjure up an entire fictional medium. Non-manifested manifestation, just because light is suddenly classified as a wave. Now it has to move in something. Oh, let's conjure up an entire medium that is not tangible, but it has to be there because light is a wave. And so it has to have a medium. And yeah, but it isn't a wave. It doesn't need a medium. All it just needs is volume. Transparent volume to manifest in instantaneously.
The only problem with your theory there is that when you go into things like quantum mechanics, they actually invoke a background medium using math, and they just avoid calling it that at all costs. They literally invoke a background medium without saying background medium in a lot of words.
Mathematically, you can do anything.
Yeah, they have to invoke it, but then they have to say it isn't there. It's funny. They're telling you, you know, these phenomena arise from nowhere and then go back to nowhere.
Cool. Well, look, in quantum mechanics, they literally assume light to be a particle, and that's why it must have a speed. Yeah? Guess what? It was wrong.
If you were hit with any kind of thing going the speed of light, you wouldn't. That's not happening.
There is no speed of light. It's a fictional concept.
Yeah, so therefore photons aren't moving at the speed of light. Physical objects
Therefore,
aren't
they're not
moving at that.
photons. Yeah,
I got to tell you guys about
photons
something.
is a package of energy. It's not a particle. It's not a thing that's moving. It's just an amount of energy, a quanta. It technically doesn't even suggest to be a particle. It's a quanta. It's only
I want to tell you guys about something I heard. Oh,
light
go ahead.
has to have a speed is when you get into like quantum mechanics, light speed calculation garbage. You don't need to have light have a speed at all for anything.
How do speed guns and cop cars work? How does LiDAR work?
I was about to bring up cops. Well, the thing is that the calculation, right? They're calculating how fast you're going. And sometimes it can be pretty accurate, but sometimes it's not. Like if you're near an aluminum plant and there's lots of aluminum particles in the air, it's going to throw off the LiDAR. But I wanted to tell you guys, I've mentioned this before. There was a guy who got charged with obstruction, Greg Hendry, from C&H Audits. And he's in court arguing that I could not have been committing the crime of obstruction because all I did was shine a flashlight on the officer. And he goes into physics about how photons are massless particles, and in order for him to have committed force against the officer to obstruct him, then the particles would have to have mass and they would have to rewrite physics. It was hilarious. That shit's so funny.
Oh, that's great.
Pretty clever.
That's great.
So what
That is
happened with it?
hilarious. Hilarious.
I don't remember what happened.
Genius straw man. Genius.
No, they were saying he committed obstruction, which is either threat of force or using force. So he pulled up a court case where they locked the cops out of the car, and that was force because they had the door locked, right? But shining a flashlight can't be obstruction because there's no force involved.
That it's interesting. I mean, I think force in like the courtroom means slightly something different as in the physics class, but it seems he went wild with it, and that's amazing. Probably pointless, but amazing. I love that stuff.
So the whole thing about light, I'm not dogmatic about it. I'm open-minded to it. So I wasn't trying to get anybody in a gotcha. Like I'm trying to figure out what you guys think so I can maybe one day develop my own opinion about what I thought light was or what I think light is or what I will think light is.
Hey, that's a great
Because
position to have. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
trying to figure it out for like 5-6 years, so it's very hard to find anybody that's even willing to question it. Most have just enough. They're just so proud of just being able to name what they have learned about how it's supposed to be, right? Let alone actually question what they learned. It's very tough to find anybody that does that.
I'm pretty skeptical about some things.
Well, it's a good
I wish
reason
we could bring skeptical class back. Like what should we call it? Skeptical or critical thinking 101? Don't they do that in school?
Well, they
Got to bring
used
that
to.
back.
They used to. Now they have Common Core.
Yeah, like what's proof that evidence still exists for evolution? Or how do they do them loaded question? I have trouble making a loaded question. I'm trying to remember how it goes. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, evolutionists always had a lot of trouble, right? Evolution is like been mostly popularized through movies and Hollywood and all that, and science fiction. It's like standardized, normalized, always has been, even with old Star Trek. But I mean, in reality, in schools, like even my school experience throughout my life, like it was definitely not proven that evolution was like a fact. It was always evolution theory. It's not conclusive. There's lots of doubts. Like always, even in class, in biology class and everything. Like we got taught how it's supposed to be according to evolution, but it's never like taken really serious. Like not within my lifetime. I don't know how they teach it in school these days, but 20, 30 years ago, they would be very clear that evolution was just theoretical. It was not really provably true.
So I think that if Darwin would have known about the complexity of the cell or epigenetics, genetic expression, I think that he would have like abandoned that theory like even harder. But I think the powers that should not be want a theory like that because like if you start talking about freedom and stuff like that, or if you even like hypothetically entertain the right to travel, which I don't, but if I did, like there would be communists coming out of the woodwork, like straight up statist. And why are they statist? Because of the possibility of evolution being true, and they're
Just in
creating
their
statists with evolution.
I mean, that's just slavery through eugenics, like artificial shortage, artificial competitiveness. It's all cultural manipulation, social engineering. Is where that comes from. And I mean, Darwin was big into that stuff. It was very big at the time. It was just getting freshly developed, right? The psychologies and societal engineering and how to think of biology. A lot of stuff was made up as mind control back then.
Yeah, and if you look at the title of his book about preferred races, when you bring that up to someone who's into evolution but they're not into racism, they try to say, "Oh, they weren't talking about those kind of races." Like, what kind of races were they talking about? Tortoise and the hare races? Like, what kind of race are we talking about here? And it's obvious that his book would have been real popular with slavers. They'd have been like, yeah, like these people over here in the out of Africa theory, we're the highly evolved ones, which I don't believe that. But it's what you have to believe if you're an evolutionist.
Yeah, I mean, eugenics was very popular with a lot of people back then, especially the nobility, with the nouveau riche, with the robber barons. They were all into it, and they still are. Right? That's how we got in this position right now in the world.
It never died out. It just got better propaganda or public relations, is what Bernays called it.
Right. They educate the general public with the doom side of eugenics. We're all doomed and shit. And then they educate the ruler class with the merciless, competitive, dominating aspects of eugenics. And that's how they like things divided. It's like a social engineering based new class system that's like it is feudalism, except it's not like religiously inspired, appointed by God, but instead, no, it's just the qualities. The ones in control are domineering, and that's why they're in control, and they deserve to be in control. And the ones that aren't, well, you're just all useless fodder, so go and panic about how useless you are and protest it against the world and make it even worse. And that's how they do it now. That's the neo-feudalism we live in.
Yeah, I agree. I've been telling people for a while, there's an exception to slavery in the 13th Amendment, and cops don't produce anything but slaves. They're either, roadside piracy, or they're trying to catch you with something bigger, like, oh, you got a little bit of marijuana and a gun? Oh, that's a mandatory minimum sentence. So ever since, slavery ended, it never ended. It's been going on this whole time. And I do think that people need to be put in a concentration camp if they're robbing a bank or killing somebody, creating victims. But without that victim, putting them in a concentration camp or what they call a privately owned prison, that's kind of a stretch.
Right. Well, you know what they said back in the day during the Civil War, right? Like, yeah, we're freeing the slaves. And then, like, the other guy's like, no, everybody just is a slave now. That's what it really does.
Well, I, watch the auditing videos and the cop watch videos, and sometimes somebody will say, hey, stop recording the cop. He's doing his job. Leave him alone. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, this person's a statist. Like, this person wants to be governed. They want to be ruled over. They want to be enslaved. They want to be incarcerated. They want to be roadside piracy. They want all that stuff. So they legitimize government. I'm not against them doing that. I'm not against the government doing that to them. I just don't want them doing it to me.
Right. Well, me personally, I'm kind of a statist myself. I actually tend to appreciate police and all that. I just don't like corruption, and I don't like lies. I don't like propaganda. But I'm like, no, I want a state. I want a government. I just want them to not be corrupt, be very strict, be very consequential, not lie, not try to deceive anybody, and like play the good guy, try to keep the high ground at all costs. Like even self-sacrifice. I mean, that would be great. So in that sense, I am kind of a statist. I just this whole thing about, oh, I just want to be on the winning side, and like I'm going to support my side even when they're blatantly wrong and lying, just got to win. Like that is horrifying. Like that's what the communists do. They like literally only care about winning, and like they don't even give a shit about the truth. They just want to humiliate who they see as their opponent and try to kill them off or whatever, and just win at any cost. And that's like horror to me. I'm very anti-communist corruption in that sense. Very anti-Marxist. But I am statist, though.
Well, my philosophy is, why be anti-fascist or anti-communist when you can be anti-authoritarian? I mean, I don't like communism either. But capitalism is, open the border and devalue our labor.
Sorry, it's just fascist.
Yeah, I'm with you.
How about anti-corruption?
I'm with you on that. I don't disagree.
A good military leader in command that really uses the military and has like room with it can be great, can be fantastical. It doesn't always have to be sick and leading to genocide, right? It really doesn't. And
well,
like
our
communism, like really very basic form of communism, is not even bad. It's the problem is that communism always turns into communism for the common folk, and then some kind of like elite that make themselves the new nobility that are exempt from all the rules. That's what frickin' communism always turns into, and what Nazism basically also becomes. But it's literally corrupt. It's making rules and then breaking with those rules and parasiting on it. That's the problem. That's the
somebody disagreed with them. I want to hear why.
What?
Somebody disagreed with you. Somebody said false. I want to hear why.
Because you have accountability. You have accountability. But once you go against the nation, you're cooked. You unite a populace, right, under a common goal, which will be the nation and the people of that nation. Anybody steps out of line and goes against the nation, they're done. there's accountability built into the system.
Right, but those that are in a power often then create exemptions for themselves, and that starts the process of corruption.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and the
You can have
neo-feudal
corruption,
effect
but
of
you can't go against the
instability
nation
within
without
that system.
accountability.
That's what always keeps happening.
So once you put it on it, you create like a socialist value tied to the national value, right? Like because I look at it like this, right? What's the strongest type of family? The nuclear family. Okay. All right. Now stem that out, right? It's goes into the neighborhood, right? Then the community, and it keeps building with the same core values, right? And then the further you expand, eventually you end up at, National Socialism. People united for a common goal under the same land. And then complete accountability for anybody going against the nation,
Right.
anybody going against the family, anybody going against the neighborhood, anybody going against the district, et cetera, et cetera. You get it, right?
Well, then Marxism becomes the opponent. The
Yeah, but
Bolsheviks,
Marxism doesn't work.
with
That's been
Hitler, it
tried and
was the
tested.
Bolsheviks, right? Because they were doing exactly the opposite as what they were trying to achieve.
Well, yeah. They gave themselves all the power to do whatever they want with that power, with no accountability, right? And nobody had any means to stop them. So yeah, everybody stopped.
Right. At first, they used that power responsible, but without having any checkup. The devil sneaks in because there's nobody to hold you to account, and then it does become corrupted.
Right,
When
yeah, and I think that's because of communism, like the power given to the communist system, right? With National Socialism, I don't think you have that. Like you cannot go against the nation. You can't go against the people of the nation. Once you do, you're done. You have complete accountability built into the government. So, for example, like a
they
local mayor
bypassed it.
does something,
You're right.
passes a law or a bill that's, fucks over the populace. It's like, well, all right, now you're accountable to that populace that you
Yeah.
just fucked over. And then what
But
justifies it?
how they bypassed it, how they actually basically bypassed it, is by sort of declaring Hitler like the emperor. And then
Well, that
he
was time of
becomes
war,
the
right?
people, right? And that's then how they kind of transfer that entire populace onto that singular person into a dictatorial form. And that's how they did that.
Well, that was a result of the war, I would say. As far as the nation, was it strong?
Yeah.
Was it united? Absolutely. For them to accomplish what they accomplished, they had to be, right? But what caused all the chaos and disruption, I would say, the wars did, being attacked from, trying to survive, desperate measures, desperate times call for desperate measures, But I don't know. I don't have all the answers for why things went wrong for that
No,
scenario, but
why it really went wrong is because Hitler had alliances. There was a whole plan. There was an alliance with England and banking interests and all that. And then literally they all turned on him at the last minute.
well,
His
I would
allies
blame Russia
basically
for
kicked
that
him in
one.
the back. And then,
Ru-
yeah, you get cornered. You get cornered like a cat. And then he just went
yeah,
berserk.
I would say Russia fucked his war efforts on the petrol. They kind of cock blocked him in that department, and no
Yeah,
fuel for the
he
beast.
had an alliance with Stalin first. Then Stalin turned on him and it became war. Then
Yeah.
he thought, okay, we're going to handle that. Back us up, England, America. And then they turned on him too. And that's really how it happened.
Yeah, you think if Russia didn't kick that off, we'd all be baby Hitlers?
Well, they can't do it now. Russia learned from what happened a lot. They're doing things very different now.
Yeah, they went communist, didn't they, for a while there? What the fuck happened with that?
Well, they kind of retracted from that communism, and they're much more pragmatic now and more diplomatic in nature. really. I mean, they still have like the military stuff, military power, but they really use it to reassure their sovereignty. But I mean, they're not communist. They're not Marxist anymore. They promote family and values and all that stuff. Anyway, thanks for the conversation. It was nice.
What I miss?
What?
I just got back. I was hoping the conversation was still going.
You're talking about like whether or not there's actually a background medium or Arwyn earlier, and I'm just reminded of, I think it's called the Faraday paradox. I think it's a good illustration of how there's a background medium. So the paradox, it's like in your car, there's an alternator and there's magnets inside of a copper coil, and the magnets, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they move across the copper coils that are also coiled with vortex geometry, which is important because that increases efficiency. Interesting side note. But so the paradox goes like this. So if you've got your copper and your magnet, and you spin the copper in front of the magnet, and it'll work. It'll create a charge. If you spin both, it will also create a charge. But if you spin just the magnet, it doesn't create a charge. And what you can surmise from that, I guess, is that
Weird.
the magnet is affecting something within 3D space, and it's not the position of the magnet that causes it. It's the position of what the magnet is affecting within 3D space that is causing a charge to be created. So the position of the magnet doesn't matter. It's the position of the copper within the field that the magnet is creating.
Right, the magnetic field.
Called the
Then.
Faraday paradox.
Yeah, but
How come I've never heard this
the
before?
magnetic field is definitely
Because it's cool shit.
Right. So
Go ahead.
the magnet is definitely separate from the magnetic field then. That's really interesting. That doesn't prove a background medium though for light. There's nothing to do with that. But that's very fascinating
Sure it
about
does.
magnetism. Sure.
I mean, it's proven that there's something within 3D space that the magnet is affecting, and it's that thing that causes a charge to be created when copper is moved through it in a certain way. And then also, like I said, it increases the efficiency when the copper wires are arranged in a vortex format or geometry. And that increases the efficiency, which is also obviously ties into what we think of as ether physics, where a toroid is a dual vortex, and so this vortex geometry is, the conjugate geometry of the universe.
All right. Well, I have an alternative explanation that's called electrodynamics. It's what electricity does, and magnetism, and it's really fascinating. Agree. Doesn't prove a background medium that we think of ether, though. But you could think of it as a background medium. It will probably work out with calculating it, but it doesn't prove it.
Yeah, it's interesting though that like Nikola Tesla, Steinmetz, Heaviside, everybody that did any significant work or made any headway in terms of these kinds of sciences, they were all ether physicists. So the people that invented this stuff were definitely ether physicists.
Yeah, I mean,
And
why not? Why wouldn't you use it? Right? You're finding the patterns, you're finding the systems, and you unify it as an idea. But I mean, that doesn't prove ether. It just proves that there's electrodynamics out there. It works in a very cohesive way, and it is suggestive. But that doesn't prove it, though.
I mean, if light is instant and it's not moving through a medium, how come it takes 2.54 seconds to bounce back off the moon?
Well, that might be bullshit.
Well, why are you
It'd be
assuming
true,
you
though.
need a
Like
medium
Newtonian
for it to
gravity,
travel?
right? I mean,
Why
Oh,
why do you
I'll give a
expect
great
light to need a
example.
medium?
I'll give a great example of your question here, bud. So, like if you're inside at work, right, and you've got a remote start for your car, and you can hit the thing on your keys, and it'll start your car. Well, these light waves of whatever frequency, radio waves, can pass through physical matter. So, depending on the frequency of the light that you're using, the barriers don't matter. So, what are the photons passing through fucking bricks or something? No. It's a disturbance of a medium that's ever present.
No, certain things
How
you
do you
can't
know it
move
can't
your.
pass through?
Yeah, hold on, wait. The
If you
car
measure
key
it,
is
why,
sending
why
out
would
like.
you think it's not passing through? I mean, I don't get it.
But the car key signal is like 2.44, right, or something gigahertz. I think I'm not sure. Like we perfectly know which radio waves bounce off of what materials and which don't. And if you want to imagine this huge like block of something for light to travel through, we already have that. It's the electric and the magnetic field, and you have oscillations between those, and it creates ripples throughout all of space-time. So it is kind of like an ether,
Perfect.
just not in the way that
What is a field? You use the word field, so define field.
field as a collective term. Usually, if we talk about things on a quantum scale, it would be the collective representation of things passing from one thing to the other, right?
So,
So,
like,
do you
we
know
talked about this a
quantum
little
field
earlier.
theory?
Oh, yeah, they invoke a background medium, but they do everything they can to avoid it. And I talked to some guy who's actually like some kind of scientist that deals with quantum. And yeah, he in so many words invoked a background medium using mathematics. That's how it works, God,
Yeah,
there was
but
something else I was
the
going to
point
say.
But the whole point is, though, even if the ether is real or not, it would behave the exact same as if there were no ether. So it's, I mean, we might even postulate and say, yes, the ether is correct. It is the collection of all the physical fields, and then that's the ether, but it's not like one thing. It makes no difference whether there is a thing or not, because things still travel back and forth, right?
Yeah, it's interesting though. It always comes up. Somebody, when they try to define these things, ends up using the word field, and the problem with that is that modern science or mainstream science can't define what a field is. And Ken Wheeler, appropriately, in my opinion, was able to define what a field is, and nobody else has any explanation that comes even close. And what Ken Wheeler says
Well,
a
not
field
really.
is an ether perturbation modality, which makes
Yeah, but
perfect
that
sense
doesn't
within ether
explain.
physics.
No, it doesn't. That is like an explanation of what that type of what that would
It's a
do. Nothing
presupposition.
of what it's made out of, right? There's nothing. This says nothing about what that would be made out of, which is
Well, I
what
think
you're
you're asking the
asking me.
wrong
What an
question.
electric field is.
It's backwards. You're saying what's it made out of? No, everything is made out of the field. The field isn't made out of things. Things are made out of the field, like light and matter. I don't know if you ever heard where in science was like, science discovered that matter is just super high energy light. Exactly. It's another ether perturbation modality.
Or
No,
just
yeah. Well, what
completely made
matter
up
is.
based out
Go
of
on.
unification theory. The
Yeah, I guess so.
the not so well like the human tendency to just want everything to be one unified thing, when to me it seems like it really isn't.
And if you say that Nikola Tesla and all those mainstream science, or well, not really mainstream, but you know what I mean, they all followed these ether physics, then how come nobody else does it anymore in serious science? Maybe we as a field moved on. We realized, okay, that's not quite the right idea.
Because they hid the correct
What?
science from us because they don't want us to provide our own electricity because they're trying to
Bingo.
control us.
Knowledge is
How would
power,
you
and they want to
create
keep it
your
from
own
you.
electricity if you knew the ether was real? How would you do that ever? You still need to
You
excite
just set
the.
up an antenna like the old world, all the old world buildings, bro. Little mercury inside,
But
it spins.
but if electricity is passing through the ether, so you could collect it with an antenna, then it's already present. Then you're not creating anything out of the ether.
Yeah,
And it like
exactly.
what like so electrons are free flowing like at high speeds in the ether.
No, it's just
And then
high
you
Electrons. Why are
create
you
atmosphere
impact.
combining
electricity.
atomism
It's
and
separate.
ether theory?
It's high atmosphere electricity. That's just up there. There's electricity. That's it. That doesn't prove ether. It just proves there's electricity up there, and you can actually catch that and utilize it. It's not ether.
They still do. They still do, dude. The I've talked to an electrician recently. He said the amount of electricity coming off these power lines is crazy. Most electricians in the field don't think that there's enough being generated by these power plants for how much they're selling people. That's why every single one is literally shaped like a cross. Every power line is shaped like a cross and has all these
Hold on, who
little
said this?
caps. Have all these caps like the Capitol domes.
Well, I don't know if
So
those
So
the
lines are
power
typically
lines are
high
giving
enough to
more
catch enough,
electricity.
but I
I
mean,
so want to
Yeah,
turn on my cameras right now because I'm looking at a bunch of. It's like an electrical plant, right? But if I turn on my thing, then you guys will dox me because you guys are perverts. But
So
what
you're
I'm
just
looking
teasing
at is
us?
a bunch of towers, and all these towers have like an electrical dowel rod on top. And I'm looking at like probably like 100 towers here, and I don't see any generators anywhere.
they're
And this is a
definitely
huge
collecting a
city.
lot of electricity. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of
They're using,
towers over there on that mountaintop, and I'm in a huge freaking city, bro.
yeah,
Are
all
you
the
talking
power
about
plants are
the?
still set up looking exactly like old world antennas. Like they use the same technology, they just patent it, keep it secret, and sell us free electricity, just like they sell us free water.
Oh, it doesn't sound very secret, bro. If you got these huge antennas just standing everywhere and nobody questions it.
Yeah, no, I know. It's because you're stupid. Because people like you believe just whatever narrative they sell, so they don't have to hide it very
Oh,
much.
I'm stupid. Okay, tell me anything about excited atoms or energy. What even is electricity? Do
We're
you know
not
that?
talking
You're
about
gonna
atoms.
call me stupid, right?
Unplug your computer. Unplug your computer and router and get all that free energy for you. Okay, go.
They dance when
What
they're
the?
excited.
Come on, unplug your computers, all of you.
Unplug the Ethernet cord.
Unplug your
You mean?
routers.
Unplug the
Yeah.
Ethernet cord.
Yeah, unplug it and get all that free energy. All that
Why isn't it
wireless
called
energy.
the Atom Electron
Well,
cord?
come on, go
Why is it called
unplug
the
it.
Ethernet cord?
His
Unplug your
NASA
computer.
shield. That's how he goes on.
Unplug your
So
computer. Come on,
NASA
go get
Shield
all that
thinks
wireless
that we
energy.
can just NASA Shield thinks that we can just erect a tower in the middle of nowhere, like no problem, like nobody's going to come up and cause any problems, and we could just
No, just
utilize the ground.
unplug your computer.
Hold on, bro.
What's that
Hold on, bro.
beautiful?
I'm in
I
the
did
middle of
just something.
speaking.
Well, yeah, that's because you know that you can't do it. So why don't you just shut the
No,
fuck
I
up
just
about this
That's
wireless
not what
energy?
we're claiming. That's not what we're claiming.
Oh, we're not
So
claiming that. Gotcha.
It'd be
yeah, we're
Step
not
dangerous
two.
on that
claiming that
too.
you can just unplug our computer and run it off of ether. Nobody here
Why
said
not?
that.
It is.
But what you
Yeah,
can do, bro, can you shut up long enough for me to talk? What you can do is take a copper rod and a zinc rod and shove it in the ground and pour some water over it and get a 2-volt. That's what you can do.
You can do
Well,
that.
do it then.
You can do that.
Do it then. Do it then. Come
Yeah,
on.
it's called a ground generator or a ground battery.
Well, do it.
Interesting. That's what
That
I've
is a
got
real
for
thing.
my electroculture stakes. I've got a copper antenna sticking into the ground, and then I've got a zinc bolt down in the ground because I showed the design for that for electroculture, and my garden looks amazing.
And let me guess, if you got them close enough and you pour water on them, get your voltmeter out. Let me guess, 2 volts, right? But it has
You know
diminishing
what? I'll
returns.
find a voltmeter and I'll go fucking test it, dude. That's awesome.
Pour
I
some
knew there
water
was
on
like
it.
a little bit there, but
How much
You can
amps?
do this in a lemon. You could do this in a fruit, any acidic fruit.
How many amps do you get?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Enough to
So
run
the
your
people who
computer, I
don't
bet.
believe this have
No,
no idea
nowhere
about
near
basic
enough to run your
chemistry
computer.
or how electricity works. Have no idea what a battery is or what negative ions moving around in a predicted matter are. So, because if you say that you can just harness this electricity, give me at least some piece of knowledge that you already have about electricity. Do you have any idea what it is at all?
Negative, positive.
Okay, so that's the maximum explanation you have for electricity is that.
No, you said give me any. I gave you fucking. There you go.
But that's the best one you have, right? For how you know
No,
electricity
no,
works.
you didn't ask for my best.
Well, it was to represent to see if you knew anything of what you were talking about and what
Obviously, I know about
like, do you know
negative and
how a battery
positive.
works?
Do you?
Like oxidizing atoms. Like do you know how a battery works?
No, not all the fine
With a
details. No,
galvanized cell is. But do you
I
know that if
understand the
you
concept of the
take
cells. Yeah, with the
well, if
acid
you,
and
they
yada
have
yada.
battery acid, and that's an acid, so acid, right? So it
Yeah,
can
and it
oxidize, it
reacts.
can help strip away electrons and whatever. When you strip away an electron from something, then that atom becomes negatively charged, so it will move in the liquid towards anything positive. So you keep this in a perfect balance. You create negative ions, they turn neutralize, go around, do this until you exhaust all the material you use, which when you need to recharge your battery by exciting all of those atoms again, adding on electrons. And then that's how those work. And so, what is electricity in that form?
I don't think the perfect balance is required, but all right.
It's not. You need an imperfect balance to keep it going. But then when it runs out of charge, it'll stand still. Then it won't be balanced anymore. But yes, you always need it to use the acid quicker than the recalibration. Otherwise, it won't move. And then shoot off electrons. And then you know that every movement in the electric field has a counter movement in the magnetic field. And that's why you can create electromagnets by creating a current and holding a charge, keeping it in a loop, in a cyclical chain, and then you create a continuous magnetic field around it. And then you can have like those rides where you drop from a tower and then it slows you down, because we know exactly how those fields work. And so if you say that you can harness electricity from the ether, I would want to see if you know what electricity is.
Well, I don't know. You know a lot about batteries, so I would say, why don't you make a battery that can keep the energy, that can store the energy without bleeding it?
I will create the Ether Sucker 1000, and when I have done that, I will get back to you. But I can't do that, because
No, I
if
just
you
asked for a
output any
battery
energy,
that can store the energy it harnesses.
you can, but if you start
No, you can't.
using what it's harnessed, then it's going to run out. Yeah, it can. You can
It
keep a
doesn't. It
battery
bleeds.
charged.
What battery doesn't bleed?
Yeah, but you can keep it for a very, very long time.
Yeah, but what battery doesn't bleed?
You don't get it to 100%, but that's because of another thing called entropy.
What
Do you know what
what
that is?
percent do you get it to?
Over how many years? And
No, I'm
what
just
battery
asking
type?
what percent.
Well, I think you can get. I think there's been some like galvanized cells that they've done in labs and shit that can. I don't know. They claim for it to pretty much be an infinite if it just stays.
It doesn't
I don't
make
know.
any
I'd
damn
have to look.
sense though. Because why do we
I
have
don't know.
so much problem with solar then? Because that's one of the biggest reasons with green energy. Can't harness the
No,
power.
no,
That's the
no. That's
limiting
not the same
factor.
thing.
Yeah,
Harnessing power is not the same thing as
Yeah,
harnessing it from the sun.
it's storing the energy obtained from the sun doesn't work.
Yeah,
That's one of the
but
biggest
the issue,
weaknesses with
it
solar,
does work.
right?
The
Because it
issue
bleeds.
isn't that we can't. Hold on, but the issue isn't that we can't not bleed out things that we've collected for a battery. The issue is that we cannot like properly collect all the like all the light waves from the sun to get 100%. That's not the same thing as being able to hold on to charge. That's being able to pick it up in the first place. That's the issue. That's why we get like 20% collection on fairly decent solar cells,
Yeah, but
which
even
happens to be
storing
enough
the
to.
energy doesn't work. Like you can't just get a bigger battery and be like, "Oh, I'm going to charge it this week and not have to worry about it for next week because the battery's big enough to run the house for,
We
a
can
week or
store the
whatever."
energy. It would just have to be very unconventional battery types. We
What does
can
that
do that.
mean? What
But
does that
when we
mean?
set up solar, well, the problem is when you have a light solar, you have these. A lot of these are being made. These solar panels that you put up. These are pretty like flat things that collect, like they pick it up, convert it into chemical energy, and then make it into electricity. But then it shoots off directly into whatever it's connected to. And you can have temp batteries that don't hold on very long. But it's just because we haven't really done that for very long. But we know exactly why it happens, and the
Yeah, but
physics
the whole
makes sense as
process
to
is
why you would.
bleeding.
But it's not bleeding.
So
It's not the
wait,
same
you're
thing.
trying to say the energy stored doesn't bleed? Like it even bleeds on transfer.
It bleeds, but not not in the way that you mean that it bleeds.
How do you know what the fuck what? What did you just
No,
say?
no,
The
let
way
me break that down. Let me break that down. Instead of asking, what do you mean when you say bleed? He said it bleeds, just not the way that you're thinking. How do you know what this guy's
No, but
thinking?
that's what I
That's
prompted.
what
That's
I'm
what I
saying.
want. That's why I said that because I want an explanation.
No, you fucking you already told me. I don't know. I don't know what the
Yeah.
fuck bleed
Well,
is. So
what you
again,
said
what was
is,
I thinking? Like what the
or
fuck?
holding on to it, right? So that was what I initially thought. So you were talking about holding on and not like you said, what type of battery doesn't bleed? And so initially you weren't talking about solar at all. You were trying to talk about batteries that don't bleed. So in my head, I'm thinking holding on to the energy that you already collected.
Yeah, stores
So
it
then we move
with
on to
no loss
solar.
of energy.
So yeah, okay. So you're talking about holding on to what you've collected in a battery,
Storing
correct?
it, yeah, and being able to utilize it. Yeah.
So after you can start storing it, we're talking. So the bleed before that doesn't matter now, right? So we're talking when you have successful storage. Why would that? Are you saying that bleeds more in solar?
No, I'm saying it batteries just bleed energy. It's not
So
like
you have a lot of
okay, I
bleed with
gained
solar collection, but
and put it into like simple number values. I gained 50 energy. I put it in a little 50 energy cup, right? Put the lid on, put it to the side, come back to it a week later. It's no longer 50 energy.
okay. So you're talking about after collection. Then yeah, I wouldn't say it bleeds any more than a normal battery would.
What
The
that's what I'm
bleed
saying. Like
with solar
what are these
happens.
numbers? What's normal?
Well,
Like that's what
okay,
I'm saying. My
okay. You
understanding
have
of normal is like the battery's just gonna bleed. Like if yeah, you lose energy the second you try to store it, you start losing it. Like you can't.
okay.
You know
So
what I mean?
your issue is not with solar in particular. It is literally
No, I
with
don't give a
all
shit.
batteries.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
solar is just the means of harness, right? Or capture.
Yeah, exactly. And if you were
Yeah.
because that would be a lot more bleed if you were confusing that with when it collects, right? Because not of the whole
No,
solar panel collect like 20% of it collects. So that would be
no,
a big
that's why
bleed
I was
if you
saying
were
you
defining
seem
that
to
one.
know a lot about batteries, dude. Design one that doesn't bleed energy. Because I don't know of any. I
Well, yeah,
you know,
it's very
my
difficult not
understanding.
to have deterioration, erosion, even that. I mean, that's going to cause a big bleed later on, right? Eventually, it start even leaking if you leave it long enough. It's not well made. Like most AA batteries, are probably going to start leaking eventually. But other than that, you still have entropy, dude. You're not going to contain that perfectly. It's because the whole time it is doing this chemical reaction. It is always oxidizing and then reducing, oxidizing, reducing, and through that process, you're gonna it's just you're gonna lose some energy. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
all I
do
was
you know
saying.
what an electret is? 7 inches. Have you ever heard of an electret?
An electric.
Electret. I think it's with a T. It's like
No.
God, it's some kind of weird fucking plastic or something, but they're able to hold a charge within it, and it's like a static charge that stays there, and then you can move like this little piece of plastic hockey puck towards like a little LED electrode, and the electrode will light up.
Wait, was this a recent thing? I think I might have seen this.
They just made a video of somebody with like the space audits dudes just made a video about it recently. I watched
I'm not
it,
sure what I know.
but yeah, I think I'll find the video and I'll pull it up. But I was just, it kind of seems like you know what you're talking about, so I wanted to ask you because that was the first time I'd ever seen an electret. ATE, I think is
Yeah,
how it's at
no.
the end.
I don't know anything about those.
What about
Okay.
the Schwinger
It is the
effect?
thing where
Since
they
you don't
said
know
they
anything
were
about
able
that,
to.
hold on. Oh, I thought you were done.
Yeah, go on.
No, go ahead. The Schwinger effect.
The Schwinger effect, where they pulled electrons out of thin air, because you don't like the word ether. So I'm just curious, what do you think about that? Like, do I need to
Me,
post a
electrons
link?
out of thin air.
Do I need to post
So
a link?
what is it? The
Schwinger effect. So it's a variation of the not the Faraday, the Casimir effect, where they took superlattice made from 1 atom thick, allegedly, graphene, basically plates, for lack of a better word. And when they hooked it up, they thought that they had created a superconductor. But when they analyzed it, they realized that they were pulling electrons permanently out of thin air, and they were producing more energy than what was going in. So of
they
course
thought this. I mean,
what's that?
Interesting.
Was that a proven result? Because that would be perpetual motion in a sense, and I don't think I've
Right,
ever
like
heard of anything proven.
a planet that just keeps spinning, right? Or an electron that just keeps going around the atom. You do believe in atoms, right?
Electron work by
you're
different
saying it was
forces compared to
proven.
planets unless you're actually pretending to be stupid.
Yeah, but that's why I moved on because that's a red herring, right? That's a pretty big red herring. We could go into that. The Earth's rotation is slowly moving slower and slower, but we don't have to get
Well,
into
we
that.
were talking about
Are you saying
perpetual motion machines.
yeah.
You do believe in atoms, right?
Yeah,
Like the
atoms are
atom doesn't.
perpetual motion
That is
machines.
no, they
So
are
they
not.
run out of energy. What happens when they
No,
run out of energy?
Do
no, they
they
don't
ever
run out of
expend
energy.
any more energy than they are?
If you're gonna talk
Yeah, I
about
mean,
atoms, make sure that you do have at least a ninth grade level of understanding of what atoms are. Otherwise,
Yeah, no, but let's talk about this.
Otherwise, you'll be
Stop
saying
screaming,
something
dude.
stupid, and I will be
Please,
pretending
please.
to say something stupid, and then it all just becomes stupid.
You can tell
Hey, it
who's a
was pretty
Glober just
chill
by
in
the
here.
tone.
Yeah, it was really chill in
Yeah.
here, man. Just don't
Yeah,
stop.
it was really
stop
chill until
screaming.
someone comes in here and pretends to be stupid.
Yeah,
If
just
you don't
don't
like
scream,
people
dude.
pretending to be stupid, start saying
You
stupid stuff.
know you're winning when you start the ad homs, right? That's how you know you're winning, right, Glober? Is that how you win?
You know what's funny? You know what? This guy talking so confidently about something he's never seen before, ever once.
Hold on, we can
This
address
fucking
this.
thing that
How
he's
are
never
atoms?
seen, that they showed him in a book, he's so confident about how it works.
Well, okay. How are atoms perpetual motion?
An atom never runs out of energy. The electrons and
Does it?
neutrons and
It's always moving.
Okay. Yes, they
it's always
do.
moving.
So when you excite, okay, when we have mercury gas in what we call a CFL bulb, and we heat it up, we know that when we shoot electrons at it, if we shoot an electron at a very, very specific energy, at a very specific velocity, we can push one electron from the shell of the mercury to another quantized energy level, and it doesn't work with any other energy. If you output a little bit more or a little bit less, you're not going to excite that electron. But when you do excite that electron, it moves up, and then it's going to have to always move its way back down. But since it had more energy, because the electron got excited, it has to shoot off that energy in a form of a light wave. So it goes off, an electromagnetic oscillation goes off, and that's when you get the light. And that's why we know how to use mercury gas to create lamps. And so
Okay,
it never
that's
loses any energy because it never holds any specific type of energy. It just moves in a set loop of, it's like a, in that sense, if you want to
Never
imagine
holds
an
any
enclosed
specific
system.
type. You guys think if you split an atom, it's a nuclear explosion? You say there's no energy? Are you crazy?
No,
It's
there's
not
no
a
new
nuclear
energy.
explosion if you split an atom. Again, try to have at least a ninth grade level of how atoms work before
Hey,
saying anything.
re-educate me. Did you guys change it?
Dude.
So
I
any
posted the
idea
link
of what I just
about
saw?
the Schwinger
Said?
effect.
Yeah, okay.
No, because we're talking about atoms being perpetual motion machines, or maybe you guys think that they run out of energy
I
or something.
explained
I don't
why
know.
they're not. Did you not understand anything of what I said?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest. I posted a link
Well,
about the Schwinger effect if you'd like to look at it.
oh, yeah, I can look at that. I was just saying that basically all atoms are and how they move and the energy you get from them is just things moving around. It's never any more energy or less energy. You can't destroy energy, right? It's just
Well, it's a claim.
nothing
But you
being
can't use
added.
it either, so it's not real energy, is it?
There is energy within the system, and that amount of energy at these scales at
Check
least
this
seem
out.
to be
Check this out.
a
Ready?
set amount.
Energy without energy is still energy.
Is that what I said?
No, but that's how it works.
Well, that's not really how it works.
Yeah, that's how it works. Energy without energy is still energy.
So if you
have
remove
energy in a
energy from
system.
an atom, can you harness more energy from the atom?
I'm saying energy stays
No.
energy
I get
in
what you're
all
saying.
states. No matter
I get
what
what you're
you
saying.
do with energy,
Yeah,
it
when you
still
get
stays energy. Even if you cannot utilize that energy and it can no longer do work, it is still energy. That's all I'm saying. I find it
Okay.
interesting, the wording.
Okay. If you remove energy from an atom, will it regain that energy? Could you keep like removing energy from an atom forever?
I've never seen an atom, so I don't know. That'd be a hard
That depends on
one
what
to
you
answer.
classify as seeing an atom. That depends on that, because that's an interesting thing. You cannot see an atom with your eyes because it's obviously too small. Does that mean that they don't exist? No,
No, it just
they
means
do exist.
magnify it. That's
No, you
just
can't.
magnify. Zoom in.
No, you
You got
can't
a camera.
No, you can't, because their wavelength, the light that they emit, is too small from the visible light. Visible
So
light is
they're
between
invisible?
400 and their visible light is between 400 to 800 nanometers.
Wait, you just
An
said
atom
wait,
is
they have
smaller than
visible
400
light.
nanometers.
Hold on, man. You're going too fast. You said that they're visible, right? But I can't see them.
Not with your eyes, no. You
We have
can't.
electron microscopes.
So we know they're visible because we can't see them.
No, they're visible because we see the effects around them.
So you see effects, and you say you see the atom.
You can't
That's
see an atom
slow.
with your eyes. No, they're too small.
Yeah. Is there any way to see an atom?
Well, that
We
depends
have
on what you mean by
electron
seeing them.
microscopes.
What do you
No,
mean
you
by
can't.
seeing
No,
them? I'm not trying to
no.
like be like all tricky. I'm just saying,
I'm
can't you see an atom?
seeing.
Period. Can you see it?
We
Is
know
there
they
any amount
exist, bro.
of zoom that exists where you can actually see this
You
little fucker dancing
listen,
around?
you
No,
sound like a
because they do
curious
not emit
child in
light in
third
the
grade who's
visible
just learned about
light
this.
spectra.
I'm
That's what I was telling you.
Second grade, just learned. And I'm looking for answers. You guys seem to have them.
Yeah.
So like, how much magnification is required to like see this
It's
little
not a
fucker dancing?
magnification issue. It's the amount of light that they reflect back.
All right, so
Can
you
you
just
see?
get what?
Can you
You
see
get
a
what,
black
like
hole?
a bigger light bulb?
Can you see a black hole?
No, I don't even know what the fuck a black hole is.
Only at school.
I don't know what a black hole is.
A black
What's a
hole is
black
what
hole?
they need to make gravity work at the galactic level, but it's gravity's so messed up that they don't only need black holes; they also need dark matter and black holes
Okay,
to make
okay. Let's
gravity work
stop
at the
pretending
galactic
stupid.
level. Why are you
Let's stop
interrupting me?
pretending to act
Why are
stupid
you
and
interrupting
answer the
me?
actual
Why
question.
are you
If you
interrupting me?
are
Are
in
you
a dark
afraid?
room,
Are you afraid to
can you
hear me
see the
speak?
wall?
Are you a coward and afraid to hear me speak? There's no
No,
need
no.
to
I
interrupt me,
won't
sir.
entertain
I
to
will
sheer
let you
stupidity.
speak
I will
as
not
soon as I'm
entertain
done.
to someone that has the
I will
IQ of a
let you speak
16-year-old.
as soon
No,
as
no.
I am
I will
done.
answer his
Sir,
question.
why are you
Let
such
me
a
answer
coward?
his question.
Why are you such a yellow belly
I will
coward?
answer his question.
Why are you such a yellow
If
belly
you are
coward,
in a
bro?
dark room,
Why
can
are
you
you a yellow
see the
belly coward? Why don't you act like your father raised you properly, sir? Will you be quiet and let me
He was
finish?
brought up by
No, I'm
two
not going to
lesbians.
entertain sheer stupidity for
Okay, so we get it. Your father didn't raise you correctly. I understand
neither
that.
did yours.
But can you govern yourself? Oh, my father raised me not to interrupt people. You bet your ass he did.
No, but he
So
probably
I'm
told
gonna
you to say
finish.
stupid stuff.
I'm gonna finish, and you're gonna cry silently while I finish. You got that?
No, not really.
Okay, so you can't control yourself. We get it.
Omni
You got a
deserve
mental
a
disability. I get
business
it.
community up.
You know, I'm gonna take it easy on you because you're retarded. Go ahead, bro.
If you are in a dark room, can you see the wall? Can you see anything?
How dark? How dark we
Pitch
talk?
black.
Pitch black?
Yeah.
So no light? And you
No
want me
light.
to see? You want me to
Yeah.
see with no
Can
light?
you see anything?
I can see. Yeah, I can see pitch black.
Yeah, but can you see any object in that room?
Yeah, pitch black.
Can you see
I
an
can see
object
the
in a
color
room that is
pitch
pitch
black.
black?
I can see that color
Is there
black.
an object in the room in order
My
for
eyes
you to
don't.
see it?
If I put a wall in front of you and the room is pitch black, can you see the wall?
No,
No. Why can't you see anything?
because I'm looking at pitch black.
Because light isn't being reflected into your eyes, right?
So this is a false equivalency fallacy because the wall is not an extraordinary claim, whereas atoms are, or black holes.
No, I'm asking.
Yes, yes, yes,
We're
yes, yes,
talking about
yes.
what he can see. Quick, stop
Your
interrupting.
eyes kind of
Stop
Josh.
interrupting, and let me finish. You can't see.
Oh, you don't like it
because
when people
light
interrupt? It sucks,
are
doesn't
not
it,
being
right?
shut up.
It sucks when people interrupt you, right, bro?
Yeah, it
Because
sucks when
it's
people are
not
acting
cool.
retarded.
You should
Yeah.
probably do unto
Yeah.
others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah,
There's a
and you
novel
don't like being
idea.
interrupted either. Yet you act like a
There's
moron.
a novel idea, right? There's a
Yeah.
brand new idea. What if we
You
like
can't
actually
see
did that?
anything because
What if
Thou
we
light
did
is
that?
not being
not
emitted to your
What if we
eyes.
actually did that? What
And
if we
again,
didn't interrupt
atoms
each
do the
other
same.
and we
You
let
cannot
people
see
speak?
atoms because they do
Right? Because
not
there's no
reflect
need to
light
like mute somebody
into your
when you could
eyes.
just talk over
So what you
them
need to
like a
understand is the
fundamentalist,
main reason
right?
why you can't see atoms is because
Bro.
they do not
All
reflect
right,
light
Ad,
into
Because they
your
don't
eyes.
exist.
Ad, give me 1 second, man.
Cool.
You
Yeah,
you
sure, go
came
ahead.
into this room. We were real chill, man. No bullshit. We were real chill, just shooting the shit, having a good time, man. You got a lot of energy. I get it. You're all pumped up. That's cool, but like we are not on your level right now. Like bring it down to our level and just hang
No, he
out and
was.
chill
He was
with
doing
us.
great. Like, could please
No, the
continue.
yelling and
No,
interrupting
he,
doesn't work. It's killing the whole fucking chill in here. We're just
he's
chilling,
Just
shooting
chaos.
shit.
giving us something. He just told us that, well, more evidence is that light doesn't reflect off on it in order for us to see it. So he has more evidence on how he can't prove that it actually exists. So please continue your arguments. This is great.
Yeah, the arguments are great. Yeah, the discussion's great, but like just fucking come down to our level, man. You're way up there.
Yeah, I'm not stupid enough to go into your level. I'm sorry.
All
That's
right,
not
now
gonna
you're just gonna
happen.
be rude, man. Oh, like,
You're
come on,
taking
man.
out
That's called
Like,
arrogance.
why are you coming in trying to like disrupt shit, man? Just let Freedom have at it. Just let him chill.
No, I
He's
have
chill,
no
man.
issue
Let
with
him
people with
talk.
freedom. What I
Why
have
you gotta
issue is
come
sheer
in and like fuck
stupidity.
with us? Like
I'm
this
not
isn't
fucking with you.
Omni's
I'm
server.
explaining you how it works.
No, you're not. You're not. You're
Yeah, yes, I
talking
am.
at
I
the room.
explained in
You're
detail
talking.
why you can't see atoms, didn't I?
You're talking at
How
the
does
room.
that prove them? Weren't we trying to get to the bottom of how you know they exist as you've learned? What the
I also
physical
gave a
evidence
very
for
good
that is?
example with mercury gas and why we know exactly what atoms
So
are and how we
you
can
want
decipher
evidence
electrons.
that atoms exist?
Yeah, but
I
you,
would
but you're
rather
talking
talk to
about
the guy
freedom
with the
now.
mercury guts because at least he's like willing to teach people rather than just assume their level of intelligence. So the other guy's projecting his ignorance while this guy's actually trying to explain it to us. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I would rather listen to the guy talk about mercury class.
So
Yeah, me
if you
too.
want
I
proof
just
that
appreciate
atoms
talking
exist,
chill.
if you want proof that atoms exist, we have something called X-ray crystallography. It is a way that we shoot lasers into a crystal of which the light will reflect into a sensor, and a computer can actually sense the electron density and draw where the atoms are right in front of you. That's
So
how
you've
we can
made some
actually detect
software.
atoms. That's how we can detect them and how they work in lattices.
Density.
It is one of the biggest standards when it comes to chemistry and biology and biochemistry of finding structures of different things. Everything
Really?
from crystals to atoms to proteins to whatever.
So,
That
so
is
to
proof
better,
that they
What's the
exist.
density of an electron and how is it measured?
yeah, but to better understand it, it's like essentially you're
No,
shooting into a void and you see things reacting around this void, and you just gave it a
no, you
name,
don't shoot
call it
into
an
a void. You
atom.
shoot into a crystal. That's why it's
Well,
called X-ray
yeah, but
crystallography.
What type
How
of
do you
crystal?
measure the density of an electron through that
What type
process?
of crystal?
Any crystal.
Any.
Yep. As long as it has a lattice that is pretty dense, yeah, it can do
What
it.
what when you say you shoot it into a computer, what do you mean? Like the software in the computer?
No, the software is able to detect the electron density.
Yeah, so you've made some software to detect the thing that you're looking for.
No, it detects the electron density in the crystal.
So what happens? Then you make the assumption that it's definitely the thing you're looking for.
Yes, that's how modern medication is made. That's how modern biomedical research is made.
Medication.
Yes, because you're able to figure out the structure of proteins, the structure of
Most
tissue,
modern
and then they create medication based on what the proteins look like. Because medications are small
petrochemical.
molecules that are able to turn on or turn off proteins. The entire modern medicine is based on X-ray crystallography.
Isn't it based on petrochemicals?
No, that's how you make them. Petrochemicals is how you synthesize the medicine, not how they work on a molecular level.
You can have my share, believe me.
Now, no, look,
Yeah.
the whole theory of what a house they supposed to establish is way more interesting, right? I mean, all the science got all this medication than to tell you what the medicine is actually